We are brought to you by Boss Bears Supplements. That's Boss Bears Supplements at bossbears.co. Hard work, consistency, and determination are difficult to sustain when your mind and body can't keep up. Fuel your body with what it needs to perform like a boss. Whether you're closing deals, pitching a new business idea, or training in the gym, Boss Bears take your hustle to the next level. Our ingredients are the highest quality with potency and serving sizes that are the gold standard in the industry. Check out all of Boss Bears products at bossbears.co. They have apple cider vinegar gummies. They have ashwagandha. They have all kinds of supplements in delicious gummy form. They also have them in pill form if you don't want the gummies. I prefer the gummies. They are delicious, and I've tried the apple cider vinegar. They are very good. Use code Nicky at checkout to save 10%. That's bossbears.co, code Nicky. We are brought to you by Clout Power Supplements. That's KLOUTPWR.com. So here I have the protein, the Cravings protein from Clout. This one is the salted caramel. This is some of the best protein that I've ever had in my life. It's actually delicious. I like the salted caramel and the cinnamon swirl are my two favorites. Also, their pre-workouts are amazing. So they have the Karma Nootropic pre-workout. It's a nootropic and focused pre-workout. It's a lower stimulant formula, zero itch formula. It has 4 trademark ingredients, and has fully dosed ingredients. So far, the Arctic Cherry is probably my favorite of the Karma pre-workout. Also, try the Nero Aminos from them. And also the High Stimulant Mamba is some of my favorite too. And I really like the Arctic Cherry of that one. So go to cloutpower.com and use code Nicky to save 15%. KLOUTPWR.com. Code Nicky to save 15%. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Nicky Free Podcast. We are here with Zachary, Nathaniel Hall, our boy, the powerlifter. Zach, what is up, dude?
Not much. I am blessed to be here. It's a wonderful sunny day, and I'm excited to catch up with my friend Nicky Free.
Hell yeah, it is a nice day, dude.
It is.
A lot of stuff to catch up on, too.
Yeah. I feel like when we sit down for this, it's like seeing an old friend after a couple months, and it's just like, what have you been up to, man? Like,
it is,
what's going
dude.
on? Tell me about the family kind of thing.
Well, that's what it's like. Yeah, basically. I like having these kind of repeat guests. You know, we got like this family of people now that are kind of part of the Nicky Free Podcast, and so you're definitely one of them.
Hell yeah.
So what's been new with you, man?
It's been a lot, man. When was the last time we spoke, just so I have a reference? I think it's been a few months.
Probably a couple months, dude.
Yeah. So between now and then, I had been planning to do a competition next weekend that I decided not to do. Having some nagging shoulder injury I'm in PT for. So that's a big thing that's changed.
This was a powerlifting comp?
Yeah. But I'm signed up for Sam Deason's meet, actually, at the end of July.
That's dope.
I should be good for that.
Really cool that Sam is putting those on himself.
He's going to do a great job.
Dude, he's excited about that shit. Yeah, he's another dude. I love having Sam on here.
I watched a lot. Pretty much the entire cast that you did with him.
Yeah, me and him, we kind of nerd out with like pro wrestling.
Oh, you talked about wrestling for like 5 minutes.
Know,
and I'll admit, I clicked fast forward.
Like,
I don't know
guys,
what you're talking about.
We don't know what the fuck. Well, Sam gets into it. He starts being like a fucking. He's like a booker.
Yeah.
You know, like he starts like putting the show together and shit. Like this is what I think should happen. They should do this and then this and. I don't know, but you can tell he has a passion for it.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
I mean,
loves it. Yeah.
I didn't know that there was so much to it, and the storytelling, the drama aspect is pretty interesting to me.
It really is. It's kind of like a weird, it's like an art form in the sense of the matches are an art form, like the physicality, but then the storytelling is kind of an art form too. Like, how do you tell long form stories over weekly episodic television that keeps people watching and interested and like emotionally invested? Like, I hate this guy because he turned his back on, that's a whole art form in itself, dude. And it's probably kind of a lost one,
Yeah, I agree. People don't really see it for what it is on the outside.
Because I think you gotta plan it in like long, really long terms.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So since then, school started, so I'm back in school again. That's
Yes.
going good.
And you're going to school for what? Tell everybody again.
I'm doing my undergrad to transfer to do physics as my major.
Yeah, because
so
you're a big physics
I'm
guy.
knocking out some of my math classes. I'm in calculus 2, which is integral calculus. It's pretty fun.
Dude,
the math's
math
starting
is
to get weird.
everything.
Math is every conversation you have. It's every, thing that you do. I would love to see a movie where they can break down like a really complex equation of human behavior and be like, this is what Nicky's going to do if we do this at this time, and like we know.
Yeah, because that's kind of that idea of like free will or no free will.
and
Do we really have it?
Maybe
we don't.
Maybe we don't. I mean, you can predict animals' behaviors pretty good. We're just more complex versions of that. So
100%.
maybe someday we'll be able to really log it down and be like, you are just following an algorithm kind of thing.
So like the weird thing is like, do you ever being into like science, physics, you're like really deep in kind of stuff like that. You're a deep thinker. So like when me and you get on here, sometimes we tend to, go off on these tangents and stuff, which to me, I think is fascinating. Yeah. I'll listen to it all day. But do you ever feel like as human beings, it's kind of like, and I think it's a natural progression for us to, learn more, become better, gain more knowledge. Obviously, we've done it over years.
Yep.
But I always wonder sometimes, do you feel like you kind of like, the more we know, sometimes you lose some of the magic of just life,
Yeah, absolutely.
So like if we got to a point where you could literally mathematically predict every single thing that was going to happen, and well, there's probably multiple versions of what could happen with, like all these different infinite. But like, yeah, sometimes I feel like the more knowledge you get, sometimes it kind of, well, going back to pro wrestling, I remember that when I loved that I learned how to do it and everything. But there definitely was a magic lost from being the fan watching it to learning on the inside of how to actually do it.
It's happened to me with powerlifting in particular.
Yeah.
I think you're spot on with that. Ignorance is bliss, they say.
Yeah.
And the
But I'd rather be in the know.
Yeah.
But you definitely lose this kind of innocence, I think.
Yeah, it misses that innocence for sure. And I think that's fair.
It's definitely an interesting part of gaining knowledge for sure, dude.
Yeah. So after that, school started. I haven't been so good on practicing. Last time we spoke, I've been practicing in time slots about things.
You said that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
I've been kind of slacking a little bit. I've honestly had like a bit of a rough patch over the last few months. I think I'm on my way out of the trenches, luckily, but it's been a rough few months for me. This year's been pretty tough.
Those can be positive things too.
I think that they all have some positivities. There's a reason for everything they say.
Right.
So I believe that, and every hardship that you go through is just strengthening your character, even if it's 100%. Just that. Going through traffic and being angry and resisting that urge, that's strengthening your character. You know? So
every time you don't give in to like the demon or whatever.
Exactly. You don't give into that ego.
I want to yell and flip this person off, but I'm not gonna this time.
Like, I flipped somebody off yesterday. I'll admit.
Dude, it happens. I did it the other day on the freaking way to I think the competition. Somebody was like, I'm like, what? They were in the wrong. I'm like, fuck you.
They probably think you're in the wrong.
And they think that's the thing. Like, yeah, you think you're in the wrong. They think you're in the wrong. Nobody's actually right.
Well, speaking of the show, tell me about how it went. Your chest is looking big through this fucking.
Dude, here. I don't know.
I don't know if they can see it on live right here.
Well, after you,
just busting out.
It's kind of weird because now I'm back on calories. Like I was telling you, after you get that we're before the show. So I competed in the men's physique. I did the novice class, like masters 35 and up, and the open. And in the true novice, I got like 5th place. So that means I did beat somebody. But obviously, like my first show, I was pretty much last and everything, which is pretty normal, I think, for a lot of people's first show. But I was still pretty happy with what I was able to do. And then I was kind of like, I was talking to Kyle today at the gym, and I was like, the cool thing is like, you actually surprise yourself at what you are capable of, and then you also realize that you're capable of much more than that.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know. It was, like I said, now that I'm on calories, I'm kind of like, you feel like you missed that look from when you were like starving because you just look so shredded and you look so cool. And it's like, I'll never, like you just can't maintain that all the time.
No, you can't. You won't gain anything that way.
Because yeah. I mean, obviously I'm going to get to kind of like do that again because I'm doing another show in 8 weeks. So basically, this is the shitty thing I learned, and I think everybody learns this after their first show, dude. Like, what happens is you just eat fucking everything.
Yeah.
And I'm saying like way too much sugar. So like my goal next time is like you're not gonna not have sugar after the show.
Yeah.
It's gonna be there. You're gonna want it. Your body's craving it because you've been depleted for so long. But my goal for the next show is to not have anything in the house that's sugar.
You think you rebounded pretty hard?
Well, yeah, because I had all kinds of stuff at the house to eat,
Yeah.
like fun stuff, like cookies and like, because I'm like, oh, cool, I'll have some of these after the show. Well, you just can't stop eating them.
No.
So I'm like, I'm never doing that again. I'll eat cookies and stuff, or I'll go out for ice cream, but I want nothing in my house.
I made that mistake cutting weight for a competition once where I was cutting, I think it was 20 pounds of water the week of. I was like making the 181 class from 200 pounds. And I had bought like all of my like rehydration drinks and put them in the fridge.
Yeah.
And I got high as hell in the middle of the night before a weigh-ins. And, I'd go to the fridge, get a little sip of some soda, just a little sip. And then by the time I woke up, I drank like half of a 2-liter. And I woke up like 5 pounds up from what I was.
Yeah, dude.
So I had to get up and go hit the sauna. And like, I bombed out of that meet the next day. I was so fucking sick.
Well, and the thing that makes you mad, it's like you're literally in the best shape ever, and then now you got this next show coming up, and if you would have just chilled on the eating, which I didn't do too bad, but like the day that I could eat, I ate so much I was like sick from sugar, and I'm like, it's like, man, I could have like maintained that physique and then started going into a reverse. And that's what I'm basically doing, but I just guess I wish I would have went a little easier.
Yeah, you kickstarted that reverse pretty hard.
Yeah, I just filled out way too much and I just ate way too much shit, and you just it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
And the weird thing is, like, when you get down before the show, you get to a point where you're literally on no carbs, and you're eating basically only whole foods because we cut salt, we cut any kind of like unnatural processed stuff. So you're down to basically protein, vegetables, almonds, and like that's it.
Yeah.
And there's a weird thing of like how clean your body feels.
Yeah.
And and then you just eat all that shit, and it's like, why did I do
feel
that?
Greasy and gross.
And then you got to put the fucking the obligatory fucking like I still have abs after I ate a ton of sugar.
Yeah.
You put that post up on Instagram,
tomorrow.
like everybody does. But then a few days later, it's like, oh shit! Like actually, no, the sugar hadn't kicked in yet.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, man, I really need to stick to my meal plan hard for the next 8 weeks, which I'm going to.
Why'd you decide to do another one?
Well, because I'm already like there. So you already did all that work, and you're so close. So it's like
you can fine tune the look.
And I think I can do better at the next one because I'm at a better starting point 8 weeks out than I was at this show. Because like for this show, I kind of had like, obviously like we're moved into the garage here, and so I had to like move and all this stuff. So I had a bunch of weird shit kind of happen that threw off my focus a little bit. But now I'm in a very settled place, so I can really focus for these next 8 weeks. I'm like,
good.
Why not, dude? So do one more show, and then we'll start a bulking phase.
Yeah. Get back to the grind. Start the process.
Start it over,
again.
dude, like an off season. Yeah. So.
You said we're in the garage. For the viewers listening, I showed up to Nick's place, and he didn't tell me that they gutted the entire house and are remodeling it. So I walk in thinking that
there's
I'm tripping.
Nothing here.
There's literally nothing. There's not even plumbing. Like, they ripped out the toilets.
Oh, everything.
There's not even walls. It looks like a freshly built house, and I'm walking around saying, like...
It is, dude. So the people who are moving in, they wanted nothing to do with the old, it was such an old, like, it hadn't been renovated since the 90s. So they gutted the whole thing, and it looks very nice in there now.
I thought I was hallucinating.
But you're like, Zach pulls up to the place, and he's like, is this the same? Am I even in the right place? Like,
I questioned my entire history. I'm like, was I in the same house with him before? And I was walking around the rooms trying to remember where everything was to see if I'm even in the right home.
Yeah, because upstairs where the podcast was, now we're out in the garage for now till eventually it'll move next door. But
it looks the same on the screen here, like we're in the same area, so... Once my chocolate starts.
Shout out to the Sonic Bars.
Yes.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Sonic Bars. I listened to the cast you did with Matt as well.
Yeah, that was a great one.
Really
with
well
Matt,
spoken
dude.
guy. I'd love to hear people talk about that kind of thing.
Right, and in such a way that like not just talking about it as like this is a fun thing to do, but talking about it as like, I was on antidepressants and it probably saved my life.
Yeah.
But I didn't like the feeling on antidepressants, and I was drinking too much. I start using this psilocybin, and eventually my cravings to drink completely go away.
Yeah.
and then I'm completely off of depression medication. So it's like, what a cool
awesome story, man.
and just like the idea of like psilocybin being able to kind of get to that root cause, right?
Yeah, it opens things up. It opens up doorways and thoughts that you didn't have before to really attack things from a fresh perspective. It was great for me for that because I have PTSD and OCD.
Yes.
And when I started taking them, and even now, like I'll find myself, feeling those emotions and those feelings from when I was a child, and like I'll cry. It'll make me feel very emotional, and sometimes it's very difficult on occasion to handle. But I think
It's like a
it's
cycle, right?
Yeah.
It's like, see, I always kind of like look at it as like it's like the old, like you trying to pull you back, like, and you've created this better version of you, this stronger version of you, right? This like, because you're fighting against all these things, but then every once in a while, those old behaviors or patterns will kind of creep back in and try to fuck you over.
Yeah, and those old feelings. It feels weird to feel like that emotion you felt when you were like 14, like the same way you felt it.
Yeah.
Or you listen to a song that you listened to back then, and you
It'll
kind
just
of
take you back.
You're like, oh my god, I feel like I'm a kid again, and then I realized that I'm not helpless anymore, and that I can handle shit now.
Right. You realize like I'm in charge. No one's coming to save me.
Yeah,
It's
like I don't
me.
need to feel that way anymore. It's gone, and I feel kind of like when I'm microdosing and I have those experiences, like I can send a wave message back in time to young Zach and tell him that it's like things turned out okay, man.
It's
like,
okay.
I feel
dude.
like I'm bonding with young Zach during those moments and letting him know
yeah.
that things work out, and I think it makes me feel better now. So I guess.
100%. Like, yeah, it's weird. It's like it's realizing that you almost have to tell that younger version of you that like I got this. Like I'm in charge.
Yeah.
Like you're the you now. The strong you is like, hey, don't freak out. Because like I'm in charge now. We got this.
Yeah, we figured it out.
You like almost become your own comfort. Or like your own parent figure,
Yeah.
Like whatever you were lacking, instead of like looking for it somewhere else, you kind of become it yourself.
That's a good way to put it. That's very
That's
beautiful.
how I think of it.
It's
It's
very
like,
beautiful. Well said, man.
it's like be the thing you're looking for.
Yeah.
For yourself.
And it's funny you say that because that's kind of what I think I've done.
Right.
Try to be for other people what I wanted or was missing growing up.
And that kind of goes into your coaching, right? Like,
I think so, and that's the reason why I started coaching in general, was to try to save people from what I was saved. Lifting saved me from that as a result, because I built character and discipline through lifting that saved me from feeling that way. So I can offer that to other people now. It's kind of mental health through a discipline, and lifting weights is a very straightforward metaphor towards discipline. You're just picking up a heavier object than before, but you can be disciplined doing anything that is resisting a stress response. So running is discipline, doing dishes is discipline. Lifting is just a really easy analogy to teach people that. But everybody needs some practice of discipline in their life in some form to be happy.
So for me, discipline is when I am at my best and the happiest.
Yeah.
And so I will tell you, that's what's weird about doing that show. Like you were asking about the show. So it's weird because you take this discipline to like a level you never thought possible. And like I said, then you realize actually I could even be better at the next one. But the weird thing is, so like, that's the problem with after the show. You give yourself that break to like I said, eat what you want or do what you like. It's a weird thing. Like now I'm finding that this week I'm having to put back the discipline back in place because I would not be happy living the way that I have for these few days of.
It's kind of like it's spoiled that for you.
So what happens is like, because you took your discipline to this extreme level for the show, it's almost like you give in to like this hedonistic, like after the show, you give into all these hedonistic things. Like all of a sudden you just want to like eat whatever the fuck you want, do whatever you want, nap whenever you want, like fuck whenever you want to fuck. Like, it's like you just like give in, and it's like you realize like if you lived a hedonistic, for me personally anyway, if the more hedonistic life I live, the less happy I am.
Yeah.
And so it's like, so you give yourself this little break, because I think you do need the break.
Yeah. It's
after a show like that, But I think it's like people are like, you got to give it just that day after, whatever, to eat what you want, and then kind of just get right back on your plan, because it's like it's too much of a slippery slope into that hedonistic, like,
yeah, it is,
do whatever I want phase, So like then you're finding you have to put back the put the discipline back intact and get your schedule back going. So that's what this week's been for me, you know, like
it seems I interpret what you're saying kind of like you said that being disciplined and seeing what you're capable of has you can't really enjoy those hedonistic things anymore. You're enlightened now, and you can't. There's no going back. You know, you realize now that you won't be happy living that way.
No,
anymore.
it's not. It doesn't make you happy.
Just thinking of that with our ignorance is bliss idea before. Now that you know what you're capable of, you won't accept anything less.
No, that's the problem. Like you really can't go back, dude. Mm-hmm. When you know what you're capable of, you'll never be happy unless you're living up to your standards. Yeah. It's weird.
And most people would rather not know what they're capable of. It's easier that way, I think. Ignorance is bliss in that regard.
Yeah, they don't want to take themselves there. Like, they don't want to know. And I mean, and even, you know, us being super disciplined, there's people way more disciplined than us. Like,
I fuck around all the time.
There's those, like, those David Goggins type of dudes, you know? They're just, like, on a fucking another level. Or, like, Cameron Haynes and, like, these dudes are fucking crazy, you know? But I think we need people like that to look up to.
Yeah, show us what's possible.
Show us what's possible. It shows us a path, and then, you know, it's like, oh, so this could be done. So like, you know, even in my life, if I can just be a little bit like that, I'll be happier.
Yeah, it's a fraction.
Yeah,
it's a fraction of Goggins. You could be a pro bodybuilder.
Oh my God, just a fraction, dude. Because that guy's insane.
He's literally insane. Like,
yeah, he's always
there's something wrong with him.
Yeah, he's always like there was something where they were saying he tapes himself reading like negative comments. So like you know, most people, like, you know, when you put stuff online, like, don't ever read the comment section, like, because you know, I'll put the podcast out. I'd say it's like, you know, 90% positive feedback, and then once in a while you get somebody like, you should kill yourself, you know, like, you shouldn't podcast and you should kill yourself. You're boring. Fuck off. You know, or they'll comment on some shit. So people are always like, you know, anybody that's putting things out into the online universe, like, don't read the comments, because there's always just trolls out there. There's haters. They're projecting their own hate onto you. So like, it usually has nothing to do with you. But like, so David Goggins is so fucking crazy. He like looks up, he like finds all the negative comments of his haters. And he like takes like a recorder and he records himself reading the negative comments, and he makes like a long fucking list of just like all the shitty things people say about him, and he like listens to it while he runs.
He's thickening that skin out.
Yeah, he's just like, so it's like he's tough. Like torturing, like he's like not gonna let it bother him. Like,
that's tough.
I'm gonna listen to my haters in my ear while I'm fucking running. Yeah, just to practice being like, I don't give a fuck what you think.
Wow.
You know, like, dude, that's like a whole nother level of fucking, that dude's wild, bro.
Yeah, that's just mental instability. I respect it.
I mean, the guy is kind of mentally unstable, but you have to be. You gotta say, like, nobody, he's a tough motherfucker.
Yeah, I think to be that disciplined, you have to be some sort of unstable, unnormal, weird, or whatever you want to
I
call
would say
it.
Definitely yes.
Yeah.
Many people would say what he does is not healthy.
Yeah. But he's happy.
But I think he's battling demons, dude, and I think he's an inspiration to everybody.
I agree. You know? He is fighting those demons, and he is winning.
Yeah, you know what's weird? So since I didn't do the podcast for so long, I'm like, my voice is fucking like, I feel like it's gone, dude. I'm like, I haven't done this in a minute.
Beautiful.
I sound so beautiful.
Like a mixture between Fergie and Jesus.
Yeah, well, Fergie.
Step Brothers.
Oh, yeah, that's Step Brothers, dude. Fucking Fergie.
You've got a decent radio voice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're doing good.
That's for sure. I just feel like it's a little, like, kind of scratchy today. At least we got the zero
Wash
calorie.
It down with some Fanta.
Zero calorie soda.
Coke Zero here. If anybody is a diet soda fan, I used to work for Coca-Cola, and I tried all the company's zero calorie beverages to see what's the best. Fanta Zero, caffeine-free Coke Zero, and Sprite Zero taste like the real fucking thing.
Yeah,
and that's really a bet. Any of you, if you're listening, I'll call you out on it. If you buy one and you don't think it tastes like the real thing, I'll reimburse you on behalf.
Yeah, just send them a message. You get all these people sending you messages on Instagram.
Just asking for, they didn't even try it. But yeah, definitely delicious.
Bro, you know the other weird thing about the bodybuilding show is the spray tan.
You still got
I still feel like I look like Donald Trump right now, or something, all orange and
just
shit.
Jacked.
I'm all like, I'm like all orange and weird looking. But it's funny because, you know, you get spray tan the day before your show.
So let it settle into your skin.
Yeah, like it settles in and it like works overnight. But it's weird because so then the whole night, and like we had this whole group text, you know, the Renovation Fitness team, and it was so funny because it's like literally everybody's like texting through the night because like none of us could sleep.
Yeah.
You know, so you're covered in spray tan. You're trying not to sweat, so you got like the window open.
Oh,
You're like, you don't want it to run or whatever.
It was hot too.
And then you have like the you're thinking about the show, dude. I mean, you're in a super calorie deficit. You just took a bunch of like you're getting the water out of your system.
Yeah, probably a laxative.
Peeing a lot at night, but I think it's like the anticipation of the show. So like. It was weird because of the group text was like going off all night. Like, I can't sleep either. It's like you're up every like 20 minutes. It was pretty wild, dude. It's like, but yeah, definitely there's no sleeping before the show. But so the spray tan thing's weird because then it's like, then you want to go to the show and like look your best, but it's like you haven't been able to shower. You feel all sticky, gross.
Yeah.
You can't wear any deodorant or any smell, any kind of body spray or anything. And so it's just kind of funny because like by the end of the show, like it's like I know a lot of people go out and party. All I wanted to do was shower.
Yeah, wash that off.
Like so bad. That's all.
Yeah, I'd be freaking out.
But yeah, because I'm like kind of one of those people. I like to shower a lot.
Yeah, I shower, wash the hands.
Yeah, and I mean, you can wash your palms, but like your fucking hands are spray tan on the front and everything, dude. And like,
I'll experience it someday.
You will for sure.
Someday.
And you're gonna be surprised when you do a bodybuilding show, dude. Like what you're gonna look like. I mean, I know you've already been practicing the posing and shit. Because what class would you do?
Weight class, or I do open bodybuilding. I think
I was gonna say bodybuilding. Yeah, not like men's physique. Because
I've got legs.
You got some legs.
That's I'm all legs. I won't win if I don't show legs.
But I know. So you've been practicing the posing, But you're gonna be so surprised. Like it's crazy how lean you get.
I'm excited to see what's under there.
Because even me, like my goal on the next one is to get leaner than I was at this show. But even this show, I was like, I couldn't believe I got that lean. It was like
capable of.
Yeah, it was wild, dude.
I'm very, very happy for you for going through with it. I'm proud of you.
It's funny too because like we got this. There's kind of this like I don't know how to say this in a nice way, but there was like this kind of like we used to work at this bar and there was like this girl. She's kind of like I don't know, cuckoo, like mentally. I don't know what her deal is, but like I think she, but she would always come in the bar and she's just kind of a weird chick. But like, of course, I like posted like a picture of myself like final check-in before the show, and it was like the leanest I was, and it's like, and she's just like too skinny.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you just don't get bodybuilding. Like, yes, it's fucking way too skinny, but that's the whole point. Like, like I'd have to put on so much muscle and then get
so
this.
rude of her to even say anything. Like,
well, it was just really funny. Like, it's like clearly somebody that does not even know what she's talking about.
No
it's
clue
like
about the world or anything.
It's like, well, yeah, it's too skinny. That's kind of what I mean.
That's the sport.
So that's what your goal is to put on more muscle. So the next time you do get that lean, you look actually filled out. But like you put on, and I'm a tall, lanky guy. So of course, when I get that lean, I'm going to look kind of skinny.
Yeah.
It's like, this is just part of it. It's going to take years if I keep doing it to like put on more and more muscle so that when I do get that lean, I don't look so skinny, But it was just funny, like that comment. I'm just like, God, you're dumb.
Yeah.
Like, shut up, Becky.
Yeah, that's just rude. Yeah, Becky.
Shut up, Becky.
Becky, you're a jerk.
The fuck?
If you're listening,
She
Becky,
won't see this anyway. Don't worry. I don't. She was just one of those like customers we used to have at a bar I worked at. That was kind of like
I
little off.
I used to work at a bar too. Those were some wild times, man.
How was your bar experience, bro?
I was bouncing at a bar that I frequented a lot called the Oasis Pub in New London. A shout out to them.
Now, how was bouncing for you?
It was good. It was kind of a hipster indie bar, so there wasn't really any issues. I had like one or two instances. I had to break up two girls fighting once. That was fun.
Dude, that's
I've
hilarious.
Never had to really like toss anybody out.
What is up with that hipster shit? So like, it's like those people are kind of less violent, aren't they?
They're less violent. They're more passive. And I was a large guy, so nobody would cause problems. I had people come in all the time really drunk and they'd be like, "Hey man, I don't want to fight you," and I'm like, "I don't either. I want to like leave and get paid."
Well, dude, I've had that my whole fucking life. Just being tall and shit. It's like we were talking about that with my neighbor. He's like, because I was like, I don't really like attention unless it's like for something that I worked on. Like even when I go to when I work at the bar, like I wear the same thing. I wear like a black button-up shirt, jeans, boots, and a backwards hat, and I wear the same thing every day. I just don't want any attention.
Yeah,
it's like my uniform. I just kind of like, but for like doing a bodybuilding show or like when I was playing in a band or when I did wrestling, like those things I like the attention for because it's something I worked at.
Yeah.
But otherwise, in my roommate, the neighbor next door who I'm living with now, he's like, well, that's probably because you're so tall, like you've always gotten attention and it annoys you. I'm like, yeah, it does.
Yeah,
like,
it's
you
annoying.
So like you're the same way. You're a big guy. You go in a bar. What's the first thing that happens?
Yeah,
like, guys are like, I want to fight this guy.
Yeah, or they'll make it's annoying.
Or just a comment about
it.
fighting you.
Yeah, it's just annoying.
And the weird thing is, it's like for like smaller dudes, it's like you pick a fight with a big guy and he beats you. It's like, well, he's huge, so that's your excuse. But if you beat him, it's like I beat a big guy. Yeah. So either way, it's a win for them.
Yeah, for them, it was a lose-lose for me. I'm like, there's no winning for this situation.
Yeah, if you beat him up, you're a big fucking bully.
Yeah.
And if you lose, it's like, well, why'd you lose? You're so big.
You're a pussy.
Yeah, you pussy.
Like, what's
it's
going on?
Yeah. So it is kind of weird. Like, I'm not complaining about being a big dude, but
luckily I'm more of a pacifist these days, so I wouldn't want any.
Right, peace and love, bro. Peace and love.
Yeah.
That's what I think. But yeah, like, what is that with hipsters? They are more like peace and love.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for peace
it's
and
like
love.
chocolate peanut butter stout, bro. Peace
That's what it
and
was.
love.
All stouts and IPAs. People would come in and ask for like a Bud Light, and they would say, "Get the fuck out! We don't care."
Well, now that's like a whole nother controversy with Bud Light. Jesus.
Yeah, they got all kinds of things going
People,
on.
the rednecks don't like Bud Light no more.
I never got into the IPAs, but they did a lot of sours, and I love craft sours.
Sours are actually delicious, dude. So we at Postdoc Brewery where I work, we have always have a sour on. It's called the Lab Partner, and I think it's LAB, which actually stands for like lacto something bacillus. Like it's actually like the strain of bacteria that's in the sour that makes the sour. But so they shorten it for Lab Partner, which fits with their like school theme that they have. Because Postdoc has like a school like sciencey theme is the whole theme to the brewery. But so they do a rotating one. It's the Lab Partner, but the flavors will change. So it'll be like raspberry, then it'll be like black currants. It'll be like blueberry. It'll be strawberry. Like currently we have prickly pear.
Sounds good.
You would love the sour there, dude. So like our sour is definitely, because I'm not a beer drinker, but the Lab Partner sour is fucking good, dude.
If I ever drink again, I will give it a try.
Right, but you don't drink. I forgot.
Almost 2.5 years dry at this
Dude,
point.
congrats. Like,
Dry.
So my roommate right now is like 90 some days sober.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's not like a
congrats.
And he didn't really have like, I wouldn't say like obviously like whatever, technically anything over like 2 drinks a week is like you're considered an alcoholic or whatever. But I don't think he really had a problem, but I think it was just more like he started hating how he felt, because the negative effects of alcohol is like,
it's pretty terrible.
It's poison. You're putting poison in your body, and your body has to get rid of it.
Poison. It's man-made poison.
It's poison. I mean, it gets in every cell of your body, and it has all these negative effects. But so he's like 90 some days sober, and he's like, man, I feel fucking good. It's like, yeah.
If you start poisoning yourself every day.
And he's not like a prudish dude. He likes to do some stuff.
Yeah, he'll do everything else except
drink. I'm kind of getting more into like, I think everything else is cool.
Yeah.
It's like.
A while ago, I posted online saying I was sober, and I actually had a girl who I ended up blocking. We got in an argument. She responded saying like, but you're not sober. You smoke weed and you do mushrooms. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like,
you're like, shut the fuck up.
First of all,
Becky.
like, why do you need to chime in and undermine my accomplishment? And I correct me if I'm wrong, but I interpreted the definition of sober as from alcohol.
Right. You were saying I'm sober from alcohol.
Yeah.
You didn't mean I'm sober from every.
Yeah. And if you want to be smart,
substance.
then nobody's sober if you're drinking caffeine and taking prescription medication. So we should keep going downhill on that one.
No, that is true. We're not really sober. Like.
Yeah, everyone's putting
it's
some
chemicals.
Sort of chemical.
There's chemicals and everything. That's what I was saying. Like when when we're doing that show and we were doing that carb-free shit, it was like the weirdest feeling because you're down to no chemicals.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't even taking like pre-workouts or anything because it had like sodium in it, and we're not supposed. Like I looked at. I mean, maybe I was being a little over. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I talked to one of the other dudes. I'm like. Yeah, I was like, I didn't take any of my pre-workout. I didn't take any of this because I thought it had sodium in it. Because, we're on no sodium, too, before the show. And he's like, really? I was just taking my pre-workout. I'm like, oh.
See how much is in this.
Like sodium?
2%. That's not bad. I get all my salt from soda.
Right.
I salt a lot.
Well,
of
then the
everything I
weird
eat.
thing is, like, when I, now even to this day, if I'm eating and I put like salt on stuff, it tastes like horrible to me.
It's too much.
It still hasn't like kind of come back yet,
Yeah.
because so like I ate my meal really bland today. I'm like, oh, that tastes so good. And I'm like, that's so weird because like just right, a few weeks before the show, I could put salt on everything. It tasted delicious.
Yeah.
Which I do need to get that salt back in my system, just for like lifting and everything.
Yeah,
And
you need salt to
electrolytes.
survive.
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely hit up a bunch of Pedialyte, Gatorade after the show just to
Yeah, for sure.
But
Come back to life.
yeah, you got to start getting those electrolytes back up. But
Yeah. What else you been up to then?
well, just that was kind of all consuming, dude. So like,
Yeah.
I was watching Ted Lasso, I guess. I don't know if you've ever seen that show.
I haven't. I have a hard time watching TV these days.
Oh, that's
I don't
right.
have
You
the
were kind of
attention
getting
span.
out of the TV thing.
I watch whatever my partner Angelica's watching at the time. She's watching The Marvelous Miss Maisel, which is a pretty funny show.
I've heard that's really
So,
good, actually.
It's good. It's really good. I watch that with her, every day or so, an episode. And then in the morning when I wake up, I put on Unsolved Mysteries, like the reruns.
Oh, that's kind of fun to watch,
Yeah,
dude.
I love that shit. And
That's trippy.
it's a good one. Sometimes you'll see, like, there's a lot of episodes from the area in Washington, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if I know somebody.
Well, that's because you guys are like all a bunch of serial killers.
Yeah, there's a lot up here.
Yeah. No, that is true. There is like a definitely weird thing with that here.
Yeah. So not
Who
too
was
much
the one
TV
you had
for
the
me.
Green River Killer?
The Green
right?
River and Ted Bundy were from here. Were the most noteworthy in the
Okay,
area.
yeah.
And they were big ones.
They were
That is
big
for
ones. That's
sure.
like when I had that Kim Douthit on. She's the one with the Ghoulish Tendencies podcast. She talked a lot about that stuff and like how this area produced some of the craziest serial killers.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Ted Bundy, dude.
Yeah, I not so much into it now, but I used to be really interested in the serial killer lore and stuff like that. Just the
I think
extremes.
it's
of the
fun
human
to get
psyche.
into like watching those documentaries and stuff.
I think so
It
too.
can
It's
suck you in, and
it's definitely wild to see what humans are capable of on both ends of the spectrum.
I think it's like fascinating. Yeah, like it's not like it's. What is it that makes it so fascinating? I think it's like you said. It's just observing the human condition.
Yeah, it's so abnormal.
Because you think about yourself, and you think about how like far from your mind that could possibly be. Like at least me, like I just don't ever think about.
Yeah.
And then you try to get your mind to a point where you're like, how does this person think
through
like
those
that?
steps,
And then you have to try to like think like a person like that. That's why I really loved those the Hannibal Lecter books and everything. Like they had that character Will Graham, and like his he was a detective, but his like superpower was being able to kind of like think like a serial killer.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Which was kind of weird because like people would like kind of give him shit about it too.
yeah.
Like, well, you're a freak because you can think like these freaks. But he
suspicious.
wasn't a killer himself, but he was just able to put his brain in a way that he could understand where they were coming from. So it was like, which was very good in his line of work because that's what you need, to think like a serial killer so he could catch him.
Yeah.
And he was the dude that originally caught Hannibal Lecter, that put him in prison, that set up Silence of the Lambs. So then he's in prison. So like, I don't, for anybody that's obviously seen the movies, but which now they're fucking ancient, I guess. But
Yeah, they are. I've been seeing a lot of times they'll be like, oh, this is the 20th anniversary of this movie. And I'm like, fuck.
yeah, so it's like if you're an older fella.
Oh,
Or
I'm turning 30 in like 10 days.
Yeah, so it's weird because you'll have like a reference and you'll be like, oh yeah, I can't use that reference. Like I forgot.
Yeah.
Like, nobody knows what the fuck that is.
Yeah. It's getting tough. I keep thinking that 2007 is like 3 years ago, but
Yeah.
it's not, man.
Dude, I loved that era, like 2010. I always talk about that.
It's high
Like,
school for me, man. That was terrible. Fuck
really?
that.
Oh, dude, I loved it because that's when I was like wrestling and we had like UFC was just taking off.
Dark
And
days.
we used to be like rocking them Affliction, like fucking Randy Couture shirts.
Glory
and shit.
days.
Dude, I was out wrestling on the weekends, rocking my Affliction gear, just fucking being the man, baby.
You're still the man.
Still the man now, but yeah.
The Nicky free.
Well, you got to reinvent what the man is, right?
Yeah, you're different than the man.
Yeah, you're just a new version of the man.
Yeah.
But that was definitely one of my favorite periods for.
You're going to say that 10 years from now, looking back at this, be like,
Oh,
man, I did that
100%.
show. I was on the podcast,
I did that show,
Now
my
I'm
first
doing something
show, the podcast, working at Post.
Yep.
No, you are 100% right, though.
You ever watch The Office?
I did see some of The Office. Yeah,
There was just a scene where Michael Scott said something along the lines of, why can't we realize like we're in the glory days when we're in them kind of thing.
It's true though.
Yeah.
I mean, that is so true, dude. You never.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why I try not to ever like nostalgize past moments too much.
Yeah.
Because I always like to think that like right now is the best.
Yeah.
Like if you would like last week, dude, when I was doing that show, that was like the highlight of my life.
Well,
Like
you're gonna do it again and do better.
and I'm gonna do it again and do better.
Yeah.
So like now I got to start thinking like, so that was the highlight of my life. But now I got to start thinking these next 8 weeks are gonna be the hardest I've ever worked, and they're gonna be the highlight of my life.
Yeah.
And then whatever happens after that, that's gonna be. You know, you always got to just think the next thing is the best thing.
Yeah. Well, you got to be careful with that because then you're always chasing that dragon.
I'm definitely
where you're at.
I'm very guilty of that, dude. I'm a
too.
I'm a dragon chaser.
I'm a dragon chaser.
I'm like the next.
That's what gets you to the top, baby.
We'll have to cut this out. We can't have drug paraphernalia. Well, I just remember that South Park episode where it's like they're playing that video game, Chase the Dragon.
Yeah, it's just
it just keeps stabbing.
you see the
it.
dragon on the screen.
Yeah,
and they're like,
yeah,
"You're
yeah.
never gonna get me."
Oh, so funny, dude.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, definitely. What do they call that? Like the hedonic treadmill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like you always want to. So you get yourself like, now I'm a millionaire. It's like, oh, this ain't working. I need more.
Yeah.
You always want more.
Yeah.
More.
It's a dangerous personality trait, but I am a victim.
I am too, dude. I can't help it. But I feel like it's like being ambitious is what I don't know. It just keeps me going. I was talking to I was training a client today, and she was talking about that, like, you know, the overvalue that we put on like being happy all the time.
Yeah.
And you know, she's a therapist, and she's like, so the thing about the human condition is like all the, you know, anger, sadness, like they're all important. But we have this weird thing where we always fixate on like we want to be happy all the time. And it's like happy is just one, you know, it's just one of all the things that make you human. And they're all necessary. Like anger is necessary, sadness is necessary. So like also the idea that you're always going to be happy is kind of silly. So it's like, because it kind of goes back to that, like, you know, hedonistic versus discipline. So like if you're practicing discipline, like when you wake up in the morning, you're going to do everything that you need to do that you're required, whether you feel shitty, good, happy, sad. Discipline says, I just do the task. It doesn't matter. Like today I woke up happy and I did the task.
Yeah, how you feel.
The next day I woke up sad, still did the task. You know, so like, and I feel like if you do the discipline and you just follow through with the task, I feel like your probability of being happy is much higher than not. So if you focus too much on being happy, I feel like you're going to make yourself unhappy.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
I always like to say it's the analogy of reaching for the remote in the couch cushion. The harder you reach for it, the further it goes away.
That's true.
It's definitely
a soft
same thing in
touch.
lifting weights. Like the harder you try, it's not always a good thing.
Yeah.
You got to dial back, and it's a really
well,
hard
that's like today. Like when I did my leg lift, I went really easy, but it was like the first good lift I've had since the show.
way to do it.
Since
recovery.
recovery.
Just been burnt out for a week and a half.
Because you
hard.
lost so much strength from doing that show. You know
and
what
your
I'm
body's
saying?
not conditioned because throughout that prep, your workload's probably gone down and down.
Way
and
down, dude.
And then you feel good for one day because you ate a bunch of donuts, and then you set yourself up to get fucking hurt.
Yeah, basically, yeah. You're all carved up, and you're like, let's go, and you overlift, and So I feel like by next week I'll feel just normal again.
Yeah,
you know, but there's definitely a recovery process from doing those shows, dude.
Yeah, there is.
They're definitely hard on people.
Yeah, it's a test of discipline at its root. What I really respect about bodybuilding in particular is, you know, every sport and every discipline practice is overcoming something. And the biggest thing with bodybuilding is overcoming your stress response to eat. Like, and that is tough. It's probably our biggest primal urge, other than to fuck and sleep, I guess. But I think eating is probably for any like biological processing animal is to eat. It's like your biggest primal urge. So to overcome that is such a discipline building characteristic because you're hungry all fucking day, potentially.
Basically, you're hungry all day at the end. But the weird thing is you start like feeling so good about how you look. And then there's this weird thing that happens. So towards the end, it was just like this like kind of cold like reality of like there was no possibility of cheating on your diet.
Yeah.
Because you're like, even one mistake, I won't be able to do the show. It'll throw everything off.
Yeah.
So like towards the end, I don't want to say it was easy, but it actually did get easy.
Being disciplined gets easier with practice.
Yeah, because 100%. You just had no option of fucking up. Now, earlier in the prep, I had a really hard time. Like, that's where I fucked up, is like, I made mistakes where I overate certain days because of like stress or whatever. Like that would have been like more like 10, 11 weeks out. Like those are where I really kind of fucked up, where I should have been a little bit farther, which I still killed it towards the end of the prep. But that was the thing I learned, is like the prep is a whole long thing. But like I said, when you get closer to the show, not cheating became so easy. Because you knew that you had to be on that stage in a few days, and it was just like, there's just no option. This is what I eat.
There's definitely an option.
Well, there is, but you just kind of take it out of your mind.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you just don't give yourself the option, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And it definitely gets easier with practice. Discipline is something that the momentum keeps going, and the more you discipline yourself in any capacity, the easier it is to discipline in anything else. And
right, so you eat that sugar for a while, you get off of it. The longer you're off of it, the easier you don't even think about it.
And the easier it is to be disciplined with things that are unrelated to that discipline. So, the more likely you are to go to the gym, the more likely you are to not flip somebody off on the road, So
like you're saying, the more disciplined you are in one thing, it becomes easier to be disciplined.
Because you're practicing, all discipline is essentially practicing some sort of self-control.
Yeah.
And I would argue,
with
anybody
that.
could argue with me. You can message me if you want on the internet. I could literally I think I could describe any sort of discipline as some sort of self-restraint or some sort of self-control of some primal response or stress response.
Yes.
And so at its core, like the urge to go to the gym, the thing that you have to resist is the urge to stay home and rest and be sedentary, because that's a survival response.
Yeah.
Your body doesn't want you to do that. It wants you
It's
to
like
survive.
lay on the couch.
Watch TV. Anger, anything like that is a primal response of self-defense, because you have to react to dangerous situations.
To fuck off. It's like,
so.
But you have to, like, that's what working in a bar is.
Yeah.
You're basically like this, kind of like a wage slave, you're like, it's weird. We have this kind of weird class system, and it's like how it works. So when you're working, you're kind of like the servant to the person who's not working, and they're on their time off. Even though you might be in the same like socioeconomic bracket, but while you're at work, you kind of become like their servant.
Yeah.
And so it's a weird thing, because, you're like, okay, I have to serve this person. So you have to be nice to them regardless of like, your own, like inside your personal, like you want to be like, go fuck yourself. Don't talk to me like that.
Customer service is a discipline building practice. Absolutely.
So you have to, that's a discipline. You have to fight that. Like somebody's like a dick, like a fucking entitled douchebag. And you want to be like, I could destroy you right now. And you're talking to me like that. But because of society, I'm not doing it.
It'd be frowned upon.
It's like,
And doing that, being able to restrain, makes it easier for you to diet. It makes it easier to do anything.
Yeah, discipline is good, man, and that's a good. It's a good practice doing like the customer service.
I think so,
because it's learning how to talk to people. It's learning how to make connections with people.
I think it's what makes me a good coach. Is I did a lot of sales growing up. I've done a lot of sales jobs. I've had like dozens of jobs because I got fired a lot. But most
did
of it,
you really? I imagine.
For sure, man. I have been terminated for some crazy
behavior
things.
issues.
Mostly behavior issues. I have a really hard time with authority.
So you being a coach, you being a powerlifter, being an entrepreneur in general. One thing I've noticed about a lot of entrepreneurs is the reason they're an entrepreneur is because they can't fucking work for other people.
It's not meant for them.
They're meant to work for themselves, because when they work for other people, that's that authority
thing.
thing.
Do it, man. It's so hard for me to listen to somebody who's not as intelligent as I am, just because they were there longer. Like,
well, that's always a problem too. Like, so because you probably do have like a higher intelligence, so like that's
thanks, man.
Well, I would say just by the the kind of conversations you have, what you're interested in, you're probably at a little higher intellect than some other people, and that can be really challenging, because I think there's a weird correlation between like high intellect and being super unhappy.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So ignorance is bliss, man.
Yeah.
You have to be aware of you have to be aware of the bad things in life and the contradictories, to be unhappy. And when you're smarter, you're more aware of these things, and you can see things for what they really are.
Right. Well, and I think it becomes easier to see all the negative stuff, because you're like, you can see all the angles and everything. So like, you look at like the government, and you look at like us destroying the planet, and you start like viewing human beings as this like plague on the earth and all that. And so it becomes hard to see the good, and like,
it's hard. That's why I think that I forget the number, but it's some saying where we only use some percentage of our brain.
Yeah.
I think it's because of the idea of ignorance is bliss. Like, you ever play video games and there's a handicap where your controller moves slower so you can play against other people?
Yeah.
I think human bodies and brains have a handicap built in, so because we can't handle you can't handle the truth.
We can't.
There's things that we can tap into that we don't because we're handicapped in that regard. Because knowing all of those things is not really easy to comprehend. And that's why a lot of people with psychedelics in particular, people talk about having bad trips. My interpretation of that generally is that you access knowledge that you weren't supposed to have. You're not ready for that. You can't, and
Right, it
honestly,
scares
I'll
you.
admit, like, I have a lot of mental complexes, like existential crises that have spawned from thoughts that I've came from taking mind-altering drugs, like expanded consciousness and stuff, where I'm just like, this is so overwhelming to think of,
And if you keep thinking it, you're gonna put yourself in these like circles.
Yeah, and then I find myself
'Cause
thinking,
it's
like,
like-
well, what's the point, Like, there's no point in being here if our higher consciousness can just change shape and form immediately, and, like, the human body is an illusion, Like,
I mean, the whole thing is kind of an illusion, right?
it is. I mean, if
It's
you
a weird
learning
construct.
stuff about, quantum physics and how the brain works, is it's entirely possible that everything around us is constructed in our brains and isn't there. There was some study that's done this year that they actually proved that on a local level, on a very small level, that reality is not real.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the observer effect of, we can't even predict where particles are because they don't technically really exist until they're observed.
Yeah, it's that whole thing about, like, we only perceive what's necessary for us to survive
Yeah, and we only perceive
and mate. Like,
such a small amount.
so, like,
man.
the world we're living in is completely.
Dude, there is millions of countless amounts of beams and rays going through us right now. Like, if we
Yeah.
could see even just the color spectrum, you'd be completely blinded.
We'd be like, yeah,
there is millions of particles passing through you right now.
Yeah, and there's like whole like fucking planets of like fucking bacteria living in us. And
Yeah.
like,
Then they're living a whole nother perspective down
Yeah,
there.
isn't that crazy?
And
Yeah.
that's their world, and we're potentially living in that from something higher than us.
That's what I mean. So like, you
Yeah,
start
that's
thinking
tough.
about all this stuff, dude. It'll blow your mind. That's why
Yeah.
you're right. Like, that's why sometimes it's just like, fuck all that.
Yeah.
Like, let's just not think about it. Let's just have a
Unfortunately-
fucking Fanta.
Unfortunately, it's not.
Let's
for me.
smoke a cigar.
I am in the search for higher knowledge, whether it destroys me or not.
I think that's a noble pursuit, though.
Yeah, someone's got to do it.
It's like we get into all this like philosophical shit, dude. Like,
I love it.
they're going back. There was some saying I remember, like, I can't remember who said it, but it was like, well, if you're, I think it might be that Naval Ravikant or whatever, like that. He's like a billionaire dude, but like he's kind of a philosopher actually. Really interesting dude, but like he said something like that too, like talking about how highly intelligent people are so unhappy, but he's like, if you're so intelligent, then why aren't you happy? You should be able to figure out how to be happy. You know what I'm saying?
Happy. Like, just think.
Because you kind of can, in a sense. Like, I always say you got to just dumb yourself down a little bit sometimes.
Yeah.
And just kind of enjoy shit.
Yeah.
Like.
I try to do that with some things, but it's difficult
tough,
for me,
though.
especially obsessive compulsive disorder. Part of that is an obsession with perfection and certain other things, and that's something that has been really difficult for me. Is I obsess over perfection of little things. Like, honestly, like, if I'll drink this, I'll think in my head, like, how's the most efficient way to drink this and what angle? And if I get upset about it in my own head, and like every time I take a step, if I'm on the outside of my foot,
And then you end up like drinking it like Donald Trump drinks water. Where he's
What was that meme of Mark Zuckerberg like sweating and like he's an alien?
or like Mark Zuckerberg doesn't even look fucking human,
He
dude.
might not be. Who knows?
Like, that's like everybody hates Elon Musk, but I'm like, at least the dude's like he's a human. Like,
I think Elon Musk is the savior potentially of consciousness, maybe the
fucking
human
love
race.
Elon. I
He
know
is an
everybody
idol
hates
of
him. They're
mine.
like, pay your taxes, you piece of shit.
The
And
only
it's
reason
like,
people hate him is because he's rich.
they hate him because he's rich.
That's
but
really it. And he made his own. He's self-made. I'm sure there might be unfair labor stuff in his companies, but
they definitely hate him too because of the shit that he says. But I find the shit that he says really fucking funny.
he's definitely on the emotional or social spectrum. A lot
he's-
of people at that top level are, but he is fighting the fight to save the human race. People don't understand that him and
agree.
Bezos trying to build space travel is to save every human on this planet from extinction.
One, that is something that you are big into, Zach.
I am big, and that's part of the fight that I want to be part of, is maybe helping them derive that technology, because we don't really have it right now. But that's what Elon is doing, is he's making rockets reusable to cut the cost so much, because the space race issue is just money. It's not human intelligence. We're capable of it. It just costs too much money, and the government's not willing to pay for
And
it.
so that's kind of why NASA like doesn't do shit.
Yeah, dude, I posted a figure about the budget of the military budget compared to NASA's. It's like 0.1% of NASA's budget compared to the military. It's just...
Dude, I'm surprised you're not rocking the NASA shirt.
I decided to when a fucking big, strong dude rocks pink. Also, shout out, back to wrestling, Bret the Hitman Hart. Bret, the
black,
man.
pink and black attack.
Respect
So, like,
it.
I've always fucking loved pink and black because of Bret the Hitman Hart, because that guy's, like, one of the best pro wrestlers of all time.
I know NASA shirt today. They were all actually dirty.
But you have the NASA pink shirt, too.
Yep, I do. It's a sweatshirt. It's a sweatshirt. I got that actually from the Space Center when I went. I don't think I've talked to you since I went to the Space Center.
And how was that?
That was I consider it a transcendental experience for me. I'm not kidding you. I walk in, right? And then there's this big, little archway, and then you can see all the rockets in the background, and they're fucking massive. I started crying like a child.
Yeah,
I'm not kidding
you. Got so overwhelmed.
Angelica had to like carry me around because every time I'd go through an exhibit and I would see like the astronauts and like the exhibits of their
just emotionally.
I would cry. Like I felt I had a genuine connection with these people, and like I was like, these are my people. Like they are doing this, and they had an exhibit where they would have the actual belongings of a lot of the astronauts. Like this is theirs, and it was such a touching experience for me that it was hard to even fucking explain, man.
It's almost like something compelled, like draws you to it. That's like beyond your kind of.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like,
I'm getting fucking goosebumps right now. Thinking,
yeah,
well,
there's certain things like that, dude, in life where you just get so overwhelmed by this.
I think everybody has that. Mine is just the space stuff and that stuff.
Yeah.
But everybody's got something, and I think it's your higher calling. It's your higher power telling you.
It's like some people, it might be going to like Disney World, or it might be like, for me, like when I go to like even at the show, like pro wrestling events, and like the show. The Emerald Cup was kind of like that too. There's this weird like electricity that happens at a big event.
Unspeakable, like you can't even explain this. The energy,
but you like kind of feel it like in the air.
Yeah, that means you're at a place. If you get that feeling, the viewers, if you feel that thing anywhere, take note of it.
Yeah,
because that's where you need to be.
That's where you get those like. There's more than 5 senses.
Yeah,
and we don't really know. Like they do have some other words for some other senses, I know, but like I feel like because I've always thought that about when you're playing music at a really high level with your band.
Yeah.
There's definitely some senses, like, I don't know how you lock in, but you're kind of like communicating without talking.
Yeah.
And it's one of the weirder experiences I've ever felt. Or kind of like when you're doing I've talked about this with the comedians that were in here. When you're like writing a bit or you're writing a song, it's weird because you kind of like feel like you're pulling it from the universe.
Yeah.
So like you feel like it's kind of like it's like it's almost like the song is already there.
It is.
Like, so like you're saying I wrote this song, but it's kind of like it was actually already out there and you just kind of like found it somehow.
Well, if you think of the idea that if linear time isn't a thing, then it is already there. Like you've already lived your life.
Yeah.
We're just experiencing it now based on our
It's almost like you put this antenna out and
that's what I think it is.
Yeah, it's like the universe is kind of providing it somehow. Like it's there. You find it. You polish it. You put it together. But it didn't really come from you per se. It came from somewhere.
Somewhere else, maybe from future.
And you channeled it. It's like weird. I don't know, dude.
Oh, dude, you are spot on with that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things like that. I think. I think that's what art is.
I think that absolutely. That's what they call manifestation and. Making things
manifestation.
real.
I mean, even like you think about like bodybuilding or powerlifting, dude. That's what you're kind of doing to your body. It's like
you are, and you're envisioning what that is, and
you're manifesting this thing and then creating it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's powerful.
It's super
Humans
powerful,
have limitless manifestation ability and creation, and I don't even think we've tapped 1% of it.
Yeah, I talk about that shit with my wrestling promoter a lot. Like we're like. This stuff, like and he's usually high when we're talking about this. So just like,
same.
Yeah. So it's like, take it with a grain of salt. But like, he's always like, I wouldn't put it past that there's some possibility that like, I could like make that Coke can like float.
I truly believe.
And he's like, I feel like there might be something where we're so closed off from our true potential because we're like in this kind of dull, like zombified state of like living in like capitalism, rat race, this like dull, empty, kind of low vibrational fucking like, you know, living life
living
just
in
like
the ego.
and living in the ego. Like I go to work and then I do this, and then because I hate myself, I drink, and then this, and then I fucking get up and I hate myself more, and so I do drugs, and I, you know, and you're in this low vibration, like. Who's to say that there hasn't been like, you know, because I view human beings as these like divine, beautiful, nature's perfect like creatures at our best. And when you think about when you train your body, you eat your healthiest, you take care of yourself mentally, spiritually, physically, this kind of thing happens to you where you do feel different. Yeah. You feel powerful, you do feel divine, you feel like this just clean power that you can't like get from anything else, you know, because you've taken all the crap out, you've taken all the bullshit out. Yeah. And who's to say that there hasn't been some civilizations at some point that like...
I 100% believe that.
You know what I'm saying? Like, who knows, dude?
I believe that higher consciousness have done that. And I think that humans, I know that this might sound like some high stuff to say, but
dude,
we're
going there.
I think if you, Nick, right now had full capacity over your mental perception and stuff like that, that you could turn this into anything. You could make this room disappear. You could float. You could teleport to another planet, another universe. You could do anything, literally anything that you could fathom, and then more than that. There's things you could do that you can't even, as a human, comprehend. You know,
dude, that's like,
if you think of the idea as linear time, if that's not real, we can't even comprehend what forever is. So like, there's a whole scope of things that you can't even perceive.
No, that's like 100%. So like,
there's I've posted about it. There's a guy, Dr. Stephen Greer, who has 2 movies, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, and I think I forget what his second movie is. I think it's just part 2.
Is that like Netflix? I might have to check.
I think it's on Amazon maybe, where he actually has an organization where he contacts extraterrestrials. And this man, he's a doctor. He has done briefings in D.C. with lead Air Force generals, so he has a lot of credibility, and he says that they contact extraterrestrials with conscious thought, and he says that they travel here with the same consciousness, because with an understanding of physics and space travel is we have what's called propulsion technology to get to places as we burn a fuel and it presses us. Yep. But we can't get past the speed of light. So to get to another star or galaxy or other life form
is such an inefficient way of traveling. It's
impossible.
But it's what we have right now.
It's all we have right now. So that raises the question of, well, if there's aliens, how the hell are they getting here? They're teleporting somehow.
Yeah, they're not.
There's a warp drive, is like in Star Trek, is the technology that they talk about. But he says that they use consciousness as your brain. As if you have full capacity over your consciousness, you can manifest and you can astral project. You can float. You can do whatever you want.
So you know Eric Weinstein at all? No. Like physicist, dude. He's on like Joe Rogan's podcast a lot. Big on Twitter. I don't know. He's kind of controversial somewhat for like, you know, during COVID, all that. So, but so he calls that the, you know, going off the record. So like, you're the stylus, you're the fucking needle is on the record. So like, if I'm here, this is like Stairway to Heaven, and then this is whatever. Like I got to play all the way through to get to that song. But he's like, so talking about space travel,
just lift the needle.
You're lifting the needle.
Yeah.
And you're going to, that's like that when we figure out how to get off
a really
the
good
fucking
analogy.
You know what I'm saying? So like that's what he believes eventually the way we're going to travel. Yeah. And that's going to be not just through space but time as well. Yeah. So you could back to this time period.
I think if we have that technology, it's going to be coincided with time. I mean, the fabric of space and time. It's called space time. It's not called space.
Right.
And that's a hard thing. Humans can't even comprehend that. You know, there's people take their whole life learning about it, but the idea that the fabric around us right now is interwoven with how time travels and our time, you know, passes by is very hard to even comprehend. But it's something we've observed.
We're so used to time that we can't think. But you're right. It's like they're not separate things.
They're not separate things. They're very, very interwoven, and we've been able to prove it. Like I've read the theory of relativity. Einstein figured this out 100 years ago, and he proved it. That time goes slower at different places depending on your speed, your location to gravity, masses with gravity. So it's just crazy to think that humans don't even experience the same time as one another. That even time itself is relative.
Right.
It's all your perspective, and you know, you think about good and bad and right and wrong and left and right. There is no such thing. I mentioned that last time you were on here. There's no such thing as good or bad. It's all
really
relative to the onlooker. And
well, we kind of give it those meanings as a story. We're like storytelling apes, basically.
It's perspective from a human.
So it's perspective. It's like, it's weird what you said that about like the perception of time, because, I do see like a lot of people that, like I said, we're kind of living in this kind of like dull, zombified existence of like year in and year out. So you get a guy that's got the same job and every day is kind of the same, and then every year is kind of the same. And you'll hear people say things like, God, the years are just flying by. The day, like time, becomes like it goes so fast. Like when you're a kid, time seems so slow because everything's new. But that's what I said about my show. It was the weirdest thing. I'm like, if you want to really like put yourself through something extremely hard and difficult, because like that week, dude, it was like a lifetime. Like it was an adventure. It was like a fun, like time was so slow that week. Every day was like, and every day I had to put in this certain amount of work. And it was like this task that had to be done, and it was like getting harder because you're fuzzy, you have no carbs, you can't think properly, but you're getting your 90 minutes of cardio done. And that's where like the Ted Lasso and shit came in, because I would put on these shows, anything to keep my mind off of doing the cardio,
so get the job done.
But wow, what a time really slowed down, and that was like a beautiful week. It was like a beautiful, like that's
some happiness right there. I think the only way to be truly happy anybody is through disciplined practices. And I think it comes down to, you said like we're tethered here by something. I call it the ego. There's your ego, and then there's your soul. The ego is everything primal about us, human, that has got us to survive. And when we practice discipline things, is we're overacting that ego, and we're becoming greater than an animal when you override your stress response, because you're doing things that animals don't do.
They can't do that.
And then as a result of that, you start to become higher than
That's why these beautiful divine beings.
We become that, and I think we all are divine beings. I think every one of you out there has a beautiful soul inside of you. We're handicapped by this human shell.
I believe that too. Everybody, even all the people, even people I hate, people, and I don't really hate anybody, but people I dislike, I think there's a beauty in everybody.
Unfortunately, not everybody lives it up.
They just don't. They don't find it.
They fall to the ego. It's kind of a good versus evil thing. It's. I think about it a lot, honestly, with the ego, our souls, in religious. Let me rephrase that. I think it's Catholicism. They talk about the 7 sins.
The 7 deadly sins.
Yep. And there's a lot of religions that have, these virtues, things you're not supposed to do, and blah, blah, blah. But I really like those 7, because I think that all manifestations of your ego can be broken down into some form of that. Like sloth is, the urge to sleep in. Wrath is the urge to defend yourself. Pride is the mostly a male urge to be grandiose. And they're all some form of ego, because if you have some form of ego where you think that you yourself are valuable and like you are important over everyone else, then it'll manifest in one of those 7 kind of ways.
100%.
And any sort of discipline and practice is overcoming one of those 7 things in some way. And my tinfoil hat theory person, thinks it's possible that, aliens, extra, intervention could have came in and introduced this religion as a way to show us our way to enlightenment, to higher consciousness. And that explains why you've probably seen Ancient Aliens. There's so many different religions that are kind of the same thing at their root, that formed at the same time. And I think it's because higher levels of consciousness tried to come in here and show us the way.
Yeah, there's always that theory. So we're primates, and then these extraterrestrials or some beings from somewhere else came in, did something to us or showed us something and changed us into what we are as human beings. And then there's that stoned ape theory.
It's very possible.
Like we started taking mushrooms and started growing our brains.
Very possible.
Yeah, man. It is interesting, because you do think about human beings and how different we are from like much of the animal kingdom. I mean, also we're the same in many ways too. People forget that we are animals at the same time. But it is pretty crazy. Like something had to have happened.
Something had to happen. We're definitely different, but I think that it's very typical of humans to think that we're so much better than other animals. I think that that's the ego part, is that humans think that just because we have more complex thoughts and sensations that we're anything different. But in reality, like imagine that there's a being that's just a little bit higher than us. They see us the same way that we see other animals. Neil deGrasse actually did this little quick bit that I loved where he talked about the smartest animals on Earth are chimpanzees, I believe, that at their highest level, they've been able to act at the same level of like a toddler or something like that in human terms. What he says is that the smartest chimps, if we were to tell them something along the lines of like meet me at Starbucks at 8, they wouldn't be able to comprehend that.
Right.
But, they can do basic math and stuff like kids can do. And we look at them like, oh, how cute. There's nothing that stops that possibility from being like there could be a creature that thinks that of us. Where,
100%.
Where our highest performing humans are like children to them.
There's definitely a being out there where we are
possible,
just dumb as fuck.
But we think just because we're smarter than the other animals here, that we are something special. But,
it's kind of the big fish, small pond thing. Like here, yes, we are the fucking top of the food chain. Mm-hmm. We're the most intelligent. Yeah. But I guarantee there's other creatures that we're like ants.
And it's more likely that there is, yeah.
We're like fucking ants.
And then on top of that, it's like on a small scale, as day to day, most humans don't really live any differently than animals do. If you wake up every day and you have a job and you just work and you go home and you hang out and you don't overcome discipline in any way, you are no better than an animal. That's what animals do. They wake up, they eat, they fuck, they sleep.
Yeah.
If you are not like
that's bare minimum. So you're not. Mm-hmm. So that is one thing. Like we said, we're beautiful, divine creatures. Like there's definitely the capability that humans have to be greater and better than that. But it's a rare. Most people never get past that animal
I think
thing.
everybody's capable of, but
I think everybody is. Yeah. All right, everybody, it is time to take a short break for our sponsors. The Nicky Free podcast is now brought to you by Manscaped. They are the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. So join over 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. So it is 20% off and free shipping worldwide with the code NickyFit at manscaped.com. So the thing about it is, like, when you're, you're trying to shave your balls, you got like a date or something, you don't know where things are going to go, but you don't want to be like showing up all messy down there. You want to show up all clean. You want to be looking good down there. You know what I'm saying? So like, we've all done that. You get a shaver out, you go to shave yourself, and what happens every time? You cut your balls, man. And it's no good when you cut your balls. You start bleeding all over your ball sack. You got blood going everywhere. You get it cleaned up. You go on the date. And, like, obviously, you're a high-performance male. So, like, things are going good for you in the date. Stuff starts going well. And next thing you know, like, one thing leads to another. But then the thing is, you whip it out. And, like, there's a big thing. Like, your balls are all cut up. And it's, like, all sore down there. And it's, like, such a turnoff, So it's, like, you don't want that to happen to you, Like, you don't want a big open wound on your ball sack when you're out on a date. Like, that's just no way to be. So guys, it's time to take care of yourself. All right, look at this. Look at this product. It's awesome. Thank you, Manscaped. This stuff is so great. They also threw in this beard hedger, which is just a great beard trimmer. We'll talk about that another time. But this is the Performance Package. So yeah, guys, go online, go to manscaped.com. If you want 20% off, use code NickyFit. You will get 20% off and free shipping worldwide. So check out the Performance Package. It's awesome. And thank you guys so much. Use code NickyFit, save 20%. You're really helping out the podcast. And I want to say that I was already using Manscaped before they started sponsoring the podcast. I think they're a great product. So thank you guys for picking this stuff up. Use code NickyFit, save 20% and free shipping. You're really helping me out. You're helping out the podcast. And thank you to Manscaped. And thank you guys. Go out there. Let's get cleaned up. Let's not go out there all messy and stuff. We got to look good. All right, guys. Thank you.
But every person in the world you talk to on the street will say, if you ask them, like, are you better than an animal? They'll be like, yeah, because I can think about tomorrow, and I can text on my phone.
I can watch
But they're
Netflix.
on that same computer system that an animal is of just surviving, which if you got a job, you're just surviving.
Survival
like,
mode.
So if you get up and you work every day and you just do that, like you are doing the same thing an animal does. You just have more complex feelings.
Well, there's also like science based on like, your socioeconomic place in the food chain, like, how much money you make determine, like a lot of people are paycheck to paycheck. You're in survival mode.
Yeah.
You're having a really, so if you're like living in that kind of life and you're still trying to like ascend yourself to these higher levels on your own free time, you're really going above and beyond. Because most people in that kind of poverty, like you're in survival mode. You can't even like get to that. It's like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs thing. You're never leaving the basic. You're never getting above the basic one, dude. It's like,
you're a very different person in that survival mode.
When you're in survival mode, you're not your best.
You're not your higher self.
You're not your higher self, and it's crazy when you see what people are actually capable of. It's amazing, actually.
It is. It's hard to get out of that. I kind of with post-traumatic stress disorder is a big part of that is you are in survival mode, during that phase. Because if you're going through any sort of stressful traumatic event, you are in survival mode. And it's tough to look back in hindsight and just realize, like you said, like you're not really able to think forward. You're just stuck in the day-to-day of like, how do I get by? And once I got, clean sober off alcohol, and I started to get out of survival mode, it was definitely very hard to come to like fruit with that in your brain of like, I have these thoughts that I've never had before. I have these experiences that I never had before because you're so stuck in that survival mode.
Right. And also like if you're kind of using those substances like alcohol and stuff, like you're kind of like numbing yourself.
You are.
From feeling those,
you need to feel.
What you actually need to feel to ascend to those higher levels, the shit you need to deal with to become that higher version of yourself. You're not going to do it when you're numbing yourself every day with alcohol.
Nope, and that's what I was doing. And I found out after I'd got off alcohol that I had OCD, and I didn't know until I was 27 that I did, because I was just drinking in hindsight, I was drinking through the manifestations I just didn't know that they were. I just knew that I was stressed out, and then I just drank. Yep. But then I find out that like, I don't like when things aren't sorted, and I don't like when I don't have space, and I don't like this, and
there's like certain little things. Yeah.
And it was kind of like an existential crisis. I was just like, holy shit, this is a lot.
So then, Zach, what do you do to kind of mitigate those things now? Like, how do you deal with like OCD or like? It's just something that you kind of have worked on, right?
Yeah, I went to behavioral therapy for a while, which honestly I do need to go back. I am an advocate for therapy for everybody, and I need to follow through on that. But that was the biggest thing, is they taught me tricks to just how to think better. The way that my psychiatrist explained it, she said that I'm really good at controlling my actions, but I'm not good at controlling my thoughts. So she taught me through techniques of how to just get myself out of negative headspaces so that because one thing that happens with me is I have numbers repeat in my head. I count people's syllables when they talk. Certain things just stick with me, and it's like I feel like I have 7 different frequencies coming in my brain.
So that will clutter your brain up.
It clutters your brain, and it's very overwhelming. And when I would drink alcohol, it would turn off.
So that was
the thing. So she taught me ways to just get through it. One of the tricks she taught me in behavioral therapy was to just take a breath and say, "We're chilling." And then that'll tell me like everything's good, like we don't have to think about all this, and then that would help me a lot. Now outside of that, to deal with it with having OCD, was microdosing helped a lot. Definitely helped.
So that was the theme of the one with Matt.
Yep.
Matt Moses.
That was big because it helped me come to terms and acceptance with the way that I was and what I had, instead of being like, "Why this is terrible? Why am I like this and that?" It opened it up, and it made me see the greater picture of things. Like maybe that I am this way because it helps me do things that are great.
Exactly. And you got to really appreciate the you, because that's like anybody that's successful. It's like the thing that makes them is like the thing that it's usually the shit you're trying to fight the most or like hide or whatever. Like that's like the secret sauce that makes you you. Yeah. And like that's what people end up like. You even say that like when you meet your like mate, like the shit that you're like embarrassed of or trying to hide is the reason they fall in love with you. You know what I'm saying? Like the quirky stuff. It's like,
absolutely. And microdosing helped me a lot with that. And it does help on a smaller scale of just like my day-to-day symptoms of being anxious, because that in PTSD manifests in is like it kind of embarrassed to say this, I guess, but I have a lot of anxiety with leaving my house. I honestly, like, I have my girlfriend call doctors for me to make appointments. It's very tough experiences for me because I have the obsession with perfection, with this and that. I can hear every little quiver in someone's voice when they talk, and like it's just very overwhelming for me. So it's better to be avoidant of a lot of these situations.
Right.
So when I was growing up, I was very isolated as a kid, and in my 20s, I would just stay home. I would lock myself in my room because it was easier to avoid stressful stimuli than just to face it. So I would just hide.
How did you fight against that? Was that part of like with getting into the bodybuilding lifting community? Did that kind of help you get out more?
Because I have to go to the gym every day.
Yeah.
And it's definitely something that's hard for me, training in gyms that get busy and get loud. Like it's very, like, I hate to be that guy, but it's triggering for me.
Right.
PTSD is loud sounds make me upset. They scare me. Like I'm not afraid to say it on the internet. I get scared. I genuinely get fearful when people like slam weights really loudly. It jars me. It puts you in that survival response.
We get some of that shit at Body Shop,
and
but
it's not very
Eastside
nice.
Gym, dude. Some of them dudes, it's like,
yeah.
I remember I had to like check my deadlift because I was like, you know, when I get up to 405, it makes noise, but I had to watch the video. I'm like, no, I'm not slamming it like that. I'm actually like putting it down very lightly, considering
it'll make some noise.
It'll make some noise, but I'm like, okay, good, because I'm like, God, do I slam them like that? And I was like, no, I don't. I was like, yeah, and like some of these dudes, they just like push it down hard, and it's like, I remember I had a client that I was training, and he was like, do they have to do that? I'm like, actually, no, they don't.
No, they don't.
I'm like, you get a guy that's like up to like 700-800 pounds, and there's nothing he can do. It's gonna make fucking noise.
Yeah.
But this guy's over here doing like 315, but he's slamming it on the floor because like somebody somewhere along the lines must have taught him that's how you fucking do a deadlift or some shit. Like,
inconsiderate. That's like them saying, like, my experience is more valuable than everyone else's around me. I don't care if you're comfortable, you know, like it's about me right now.
This is weird. I wonder where they got that idea that like you just slam it when you're done. Like,
I'm not sure. I mean, I think I probably did it when I was a younger lifter.
For
sure. But we all mature, you know. I'm older now.
I made friends with a woman once because I wasn't slamming it. I was just deadlifting normally, but it makes some noise. And this old lady was in the gym. It was like at a Anytime Fitness, and she's like, looks at me and she's like, "Do you have to make all that noise or something?" And I like looked at her and I was like, if you want peace and quiet, you should go to the rest home. I like said that to her. Damn. And then like it was weird because we actually became friends after that.
She was like, good burn, dude.
She was kind of like, nobody's ever talked to me like that. Like, let's be friends, you know? Like, it was weird. And and then we like, that was like shortly before I moved here, and she even like gave me her like, she's like, my niece lives out there in Washington, because I was back in Iowa at the time. She's like, here's her information. I'm like, so weird that you like tell this old lady, you know, she wasn't even that old, but I just made the rest home. I'm like, if you want peace and quiet, you should go to the rest home, you old bitch, you old cunt. No, I didn't say that. But it was weird. That's how we bonded, because like it's kind of funny. Sometimes like people like that shit when you're a little like abrasive with them. I think she kind of got a kick out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. But definitely going to the gym has helped a lot with that. It gets me out, it gets me going, and having a form of discipline helps everybody. It helps me overcome any sort of mental health kind of thing, I believe. So
yeah, because it seems like you have a good handle on it now.
It's on the uphill, but this year was definitely tough.
Just a tough year.
It was tough. Well, I decided at the beginning of the year to kind of come off of my antidepressants because it suppresses your appetite. It gives me terrible nightmares, which is tough to deal with.
Yeah.
So I decided to stop because I wanted to start eating better so I could make my weight class. And, you know, if you don't have an appetite, it's hard to eat good. So, and then I went down a slippery mental health slope. So I started back on them a month ago.
That's probably good.
It's definitely making a difference.
Well, that's like Matt said. He's like, man, they saved my life at the time that I took them. So it's like, you know, and he was able to get off of them using psilocybin. But man, like, if you get off of them and it starts going bad.
Well, I definitely, I don't mean to play like the whose mental health illness is worse kind of thing, but OCD is a disorder that's heavily medicated for treatment. The antidepressant dose you take is literally, I prescribe 200 milligrams of sertraline, and bipolar and depressive take like 20 milligrams. So it's very hard for somebody with my mental health issue to come off of it. So I think I'm going to have to be on some sort of something. Definitely psilocybin helps. It definitely helps a lot, but I hope someday I can get fully off of the medication.
Yeah, because you can never like measure them, you know, apples. Like everybody's situation is completely unique, right? So like, you have to like, and like I know with a lot of those things, it's a lot of trial and error with like certain medications, antidepressants.
I've tried a lot.
And you got to find the right combo that works for you.
I've tried a lot. I find that less is more, honestly. When I first started in my mental health career, I would say they were overprescribing me so much and misdiagnosed.
Well, they do that because they make a lot of money.
They must have been making a killing. I remember my insurance at the time had gone out because I got fucking fired. And I go to the pharmacy, and they said, oh, for this month, it's like $1,300. And I was just appalled. And, I get older and I learn more about the mental health world, and there's other alternatives. They just wanted to give me the new brand name thing.
Well, I'm sure there was a reason they were giving you what they
had
an incentive.
Yeah, he's getting incentives. I actually recently I left a review on that behavioral association's page, just letting them know how displeased I was with what I consider to be malpractice.
Yeah.
If you prescribe somebody 4 different medications for a diagnosis they ended up not having. Just makes you a zombie.
That's the problem, dude. They love that shit. Like,
they love it and they don't care. They just want to force you in and out. It's just a job to them. A lot of them. So I have had kind of a tough experience with the mental health world in general. But it's been when I came to Washington, I got a lot much better treatment here.
It's kind of like you said. There's not like it's not like humans are good or evil. It's just incentive. Mm-hmm. Like if I prescribe this, I get this money. I get this kickback. I get this there's a and they're doing it trying to help at the same time, but money corrupts everything, dude. So it's like
it does, and some people get in fields for the wrong reason.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and there's a lot of doctors that get in it because of the money.
Yeah.
So they're like,
I find that you can make so much money doing other stuff in this day and age. I make filthy money as a personal trainer.
Dude, that's good to hear.
I charge $100 an hour cash, and I get paid it. And I have no qualifications. I just speak well, and I lift a lot of weight.
And I love hearing trainers do well. And the cool, some of my clients are talking about the economy getting worse, and but they're like, but the thing is, I don't want to cut this out because this is like mental health for me. It's
that discipline practice.
And then I have one client. She's like closer to her 60s, and like for her, it's like her doctors they love that she's working with a personal trainer because it's like they've been telling her like you have to do so it's like she doesn't want to cut that out either. It's like and things will get better with the economy, I'm sure. So but it is weird, like that's usually one of the first things people cut.
I don't blame them. It makes sense.
It's an expense.
Hope they stay in the gym without you at least. Because you don't want to see that habit go, and it's a slippery slope with the momentum to get that going. Yeah,
it's tough. I remember I had the one trainer on here, and she was talking about that. It's kind of sad when the economy goes, and then the first thing people do is they cut their personal training because like, well, I got to save money, but then they miss the training and they get depressed, so then they start drinking. And she's like, it's such a weird cycle. So then they end up spending just as much money on alcohol, and it's like you could have just kept training and like it's kind of a weird.
Yeah, that's a good perspective on it. And people need need discipline, the self-practice, or else their mental health is just going to go downhill. So it's tough.
That's why I think being a trainer is a very rewarding thing.
I think it is. You're saving people's lives in a way.
Yeah.
You're changing lives for sure.
But it's always good to hear people are killing it at that, dude. Like, you got to make that money, dude.
Got to make the money, but it's nice to know that we can make money not living that corporate lockdown world. My parents were in the generation of, you got to go to college, you got to get a good paying job, and that is such a terrible thing to teach your children, that they have to do this way to be successful. And it was tough for me because having someone with mental health issues, I had a very hard time holding a corporate or whatever corporate job. And
it's a for sure entry into that dull zombified state of existence we were talking about.
Yeah, it's passive.
That if you're going in, I mean, that's like what you're signing up for, dude.
Yeah.
If you're going into this corporate world.
Yeah, and that thought just terrified me, to be thinking that like you have to be doing something you don't want to do just to survive when you're already having a hard time as it is. Telling someone with mental health issues that they have to do something that they don't like to just to survive when they don't even really want to survive in the first place is kind of hard to process.
Oh yeah.
So that's why I had such a hard time holding a job. I'm like, dang, I don't even really want to be here, and then now I have to go somewhere for 40 hours a week to not make enough.
Right. A lot of super successful entrepreneurs have such similar stories. Just like not being able to hold down a regular job, like having issues with authority figures, not, being able to conform to like the corporate life where like you have to like all dress the same. You get no like individual.
You live like a robot. Man.
Which, you know, not since we're in Seattle, which is kind of like, you know, the liberal kind of like more hippie shit. They're definitely like better that way in the corporate world. Like I think you can have tattoos now. You can like kind of wear wear your hair how you want.
Society's coming along.
I go to the bank. The one dude's like he's rocking a mohawk, you know,
Nice.
and it's like I had to get this approved, but they approved it. And it's like, I mean, does it really matter to us if like the dude giving us our money as a cashier has a fucking mohawk?
Yeah, let him live his life. He's a person.
That's what I'm saying. It's so weird. And same with like all these corporate jobs. Do I care if like somebody sitting at a Microsoft desk has fucking a tattoo?
Yeah, I don't care.
We've definitely come a long way with that kind of stuff. Like,
I think a lot of it's because the newer generations are now starting to get positions of authority and they're changing things.
Yeah.
That's what I
so
think
they're
it
letting
is.
people have some sense of individuality.
Yeah, because those old people that made those stupid old rules are gone.
Yeah,
They're phasing out.
They're phasing out.
We're in a very interesting era of the world where that generation that's in power, they're dying and they're leaving their positions.
It is weird. I wonder what's going to happen.
It's a handoff of power to a very different ideology. And soon it's going to happen in the government. Right now, we still have a lot of people in their 70s and 80s. But give it another 15, 20 years,
well, both dudes
the new
running.
generation will be in there.
Yeah, both dudes running for sure.
Yeah.
Because we're going to have Trump and Biden again.
God, like this is the best we got.
And they're
in
so
America.
fucking old.
This is the best
dude.
we got. It makes me so.
Well, and actually, if you kind of look into Biden, they're both kind of corrupt as
They're
fuck.
100% both
Yeah,
corrupt.
it's so weird.
I talk a lot about on Trump, and people always respond with like, "Oh, but Biden." And I'm like, "Look, you got me wrong. I think they're both."
You're
fucked.
like, I'm not
It's
arguing.
just funnier to make fun of Trump
yeah.
for me. It's just easier.
That is funny because it's like, well, what
God.
about Biden? And it's like you're like, actually, I'm not arguing. Yeah, you're
they
right.
both
Yeah,
suck.
yeah,
They
yeah.
both are terrible. Like, and I think the whole idea of having political parties in its nature is just wrong too. Like, my idea is like if we're supposed to be one, we're a team. Why is there a competition for who's in charge? There shouldn't be a competition. If all the candidates' best interests, if the candidates had the best interests of the population in mind, they wouldn't even be picking at each other because you're on the same team. The both parties should be on. This is my interpretation. Republicans and Democrats, you're trying to do the same job. You're allies. You might have a different perspective, but there should be no need for a competition. You know what I mean?
Well, they kind of are all on the same side of giant corporate fucking interests.
Rich,
honestly,
they're all looking out for each other.
If you think about it, and then the whole like ideologies is just a show.
Yeah.
So this is the show. We're fighting. We're fighting. See, we're different.
Yep.
You believe this. You believe this. Behind the scenes, it's like nope. They're all kind of on the same page of like fucking neo fucking liberalism and fucking
most of the
giant corporations are basically telling them everything to do, everything to say.
It's the 1% looking out for the 1%, and they're making rules over the 99, and it's just disgusting.
Right, and then now they've all kind of like adopted all these like they've kind of like taken over all these like moral type of things too to get people on their side. So now we all love big corporations because they do fucking Pride Month and they do like pro-trans month and they do like, but it's like, wait, they're only doing that because they're trying to make you like them.
Yeah.
They're still evil as fuck.
Yeah.
Like, don't fall for it. That's what I think. You know, I think it's all kind of a show.
There's definitely a lot of that. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of that. It's just we need a whole political reform. We need.
Well, I think we need
everything needs to be scrapped.
money out of politics. But how do you do that when?
I think we need politics out of politics. There shouldn't be, God, the whole idea of politicians and having a competition of it is just so insulting to me. You know? I don't think that it should be like that. We should be able to freely choose and actually have an opinion. I think everybody thinks that.
It is weird that these people are supposed to be representing us and they don't represent us.
They don't represent us
They
at all.
represent giant
They
corporate
don't represent
interests.
us, and they live in their nice big homes, and they don't even have any close to the perception of we do. I want to see somebody in power as a president who like actually lived the way that we.
The
most people
government
lived.
totally sucks, you motherfucker.
They do.
The government
They do.
totally sucks.
They really suck on a grand scale. And
That's a Tenacious D song.
Oh yeah. But yeah, it works me up thinking about it because unfortunately I can't do much about it.
That's another one of those things. Like the more you think about it, dude, the more it's gonna drive you crazy, and that's why I'm always just like, fuck it all.
Yeah, I'll scroll through YouTube and I'll see
like not
YouTube.
might all. It's like fuck it all.
Fuck it all.
So,
And I'll see like just the political stuff, like, oh, this guy says this law, and I'm like, why are you people up there?
Yeah.
There was some saying I read actually that said the fault with not being involved in politics is sometimes you're ruled by people less intelligent than you are, something along those lines. Right. And that's kind of how I feel, where I'm like, man, I wish I got into politics because I think I could do a better job than a lot of you fucking clowns.
Well, maybe that's something you should do someday, dude.
Well, believe it or not, when I was a kid, I wanted to be the president. I actually, one of my most treasured possessions is a bull. My grandma gave me that as a presidential bull.
Right, if you're like passionate about it, like we need good people to get in there.
I think,
and there are some good people that are politicians. They really are. I mean, they still have to play by the shitty rules, but there's definitely some people that actually care, that are trying to do a good job.
I think there's plenty of them. I just think that the system itself is flawed.
But the system
so
fucks
so
it,
much
fucks
that you
it
can
up.
do.
Yeah.
And everybody, I think every American for the most part can believe that being the president, they're just puppets towards big corporation. Like we all talk about this.
100%.
We all talk about it, but nobody's doing anything about it.
What do you do?
Hey, we talked about it on the last podcast of the Bugs Life.
You storm the Capitol?
Yeah,
no, it's like what
Bugs
do you
Life
do?
analogy of the guy saying with all of the little seeds dropping down. You know, the government and the big corps, they're scared of the people because there's a lot more of us. They just don't want us
they
to
keep
know
us all sedated.
And they keep us divided, too.
Entertainment. Yeah, they keep us divided.
That's what a political party thing is.
The political
good
party
for.
thing keeps us divided.
Yeah.
Then they keep us sedated with entertainment, with streaming apps. Fucking food that just gets delivered
keeps
to
us
your
busy.
door.
Meanwhile, they try to convince us that they're on our side.
Yeah.
But if they were on our side, I think if they were really on our side, they'd be down here in the streets with us. Like, you know, the presidents. Why isn't Trump, Biden, all these guys like going to Seattle and like talking to the homeless people? Why aren't they doing it? Because they're not. That's not actually what they're interested in.
Well, if there is this idea that human beings could be these beautiful divine beings that could like get to some level of consciousness where they're using much more percentage of their brain and they can make fucking Coke cans. All that shit we talked about earlier, that wild shit.
Oh, yeah.
If that's a thing, then all the stuff that we're talking about right now is to suppress that.
I think it's a
and
big part
keep
of
us
it.
in that
I
dull,
think it's a big part of it.
fucking zombified
I don't know if it's
state.
intentional. Like
I don't know if it's intentional, but it definitely keeps us in that little box of fear.
Yeah, because I think if people were like enlightened and were not ignorant to what was going on, there would be unrest. I think if the population was more educated of what's going on and how it's being done, and it's just more, I don't mean educated as we're smarter. I mean we're just more aware of what's actually happening.
Right.
The people would be very unhappy. And I think that most people just kind of turn a blind eye to it because most people in the world are in survival mode right now.
You don't want to know.
Especially with the economy going down, those people are in survival mode.
Just didn't want to know.
They don't want to know, and don't even know how to ask the questions.
Well, and they'd rather not know.
Yeah,
it's kind of like most people like to live lives of some kind of delusion.
Sometimes I wish that I could live that life.
And it's like you think about it, like a lot of people don't like. So there's certain people like us that we like to try to go and find the truth. But the thing is, like, you even talking about a bad mushroom trip, like that's the reason it's bad is because you don't want to face the things that it showed you that are true about yourself, the bad parts of you. But if you can face those things and understand that kind of shadow self and realize that you're actually human, you have evil, bad parts of you as well, and you can face these realities, you can actually become better. But a lot of people, they don't like to face the dark, bad parts of themselves. They'd rather stay in this delusional state. And so they never kind of go there. And they, like anybody that, well, you even see that with, like, we're talking about, the people I live with live this very kind of healthy lifestyle, right? And they have certain friends that they've kind of fallen out of touch with because their friends live a very unhealthy lifestyle. They sit and they drink every night till all hours of the night. They're alcoholics. They're out of shape, but they don't, they're the kind of people that are out of shape, but they'll be like, oh, it must be nice having good genetics while doing nothing about it's like, well, it's not just their genetics. It's like they're actually, if you look at their lifestyle, you could also make positive, changes in your life. But so just being around the people who are like living a better, healthier life is offensive to the people
it highlights that.
Because they don't like to see that there actually is a possibility that maybe all the things that they're upset about, all the things that they're unhappy about in their own life are their own causing.
Yeah.
So they don't like to be faced with the reality that, like, the reason I'm unhappy is because of myself.
Yeah,
they want to blame it on some outside thing.
Yeah.
Society, somebody else. They don't want to put the blame. You know what I'm saying? So
I follow you. That's very insightful.
So a lot of people like to live
these kind of lives where they're kind of protected and around other people that have similar, bad behaviors. So if I'm around people just like me, then we can all kind of blame the world, blame everybody else, not look to ourselves, not put any blame on ourselves, therefore never growing. So then people who do grow and who change, they become offensive to them. It's like,
it's misdirected anger.
It's projection, and
it's they see the things that they could be capable of, and it makes them angry, and they just take it out in a way.
It's kind of like if you see somebody that's like super fucking inspiring, do you hate them for it, or do you just get inspired to work harder yourself?
I mean,
you have a choice, right?
You have a choice. I will admit that, like, I do have that in me where, like, I'll see somebody who's stronger or better than me at what I do, and it does make
jealous.
It makes me angry. Like, I think that's normal to have that. Like, you have to be able to compartmentalize it.
I think it's normal, and I think you got to use it as fuel.
It's if you accept it for what it is, and you try to just, use it as fuel and accept that those thoughts are not like.
Well, it's kind of like we're human beings.
We're human beings, and it's natural to. If you think of it in an animal response way, seeing a male that is better than you is supposed to incite a response, because if you're an animal, you're supposed to take that.
Well, it's like, and even like, if, say you're into a girl, and say it's not even a male that's like better than you, but she's giving attention to a different male, you get like rage filled, like jealousy, this evil like, why the fuck is she hanging out with him? And you get all pissed, like, fuck, why doesn't she fucking like me like that? Like. But it's like, that's human.
It's just like animals. It's just a more complex situation.
Dude, jealousy's a weird one.
Jealousy is a weird
like, you're into a girl and she's like hanging out with some other dude, and it's this weird rage builds inside you. Like, motherfucker.
Gotta kill him.
You want to like fight him. And it's like, the dude did nothing wrong. He's probably a decent
probably a really nice dude.
It's like,
they can't even be mad at him.
It's just a human fucking thing, dude.
And it's just another primal response.
Fuck.
Absolutely.
That's why I say we're just animals, dude.
We are just animals. We're just more complex. The same way that a cat has more complex emotions than an ant does. We just are that one scale above a cat, but we're still just animals.
But that's what you're talking about with the ability to kind of like go against those things. What were you saying about like, that's what makes us better.
That's what makes us more than animals.
Like the
overriding your stress.
Overriding the stress. That's what you're saying.
That's the smallest, like, most simplest bastardized way I can make it. But it's more complex if you talk about like how that manifests and stuff like that.
It's so fucking interesting. Dude.
I think that's what makes us better than animals, and that's what makes you your higher self. Is your higher self is free of these mortal, whatever. And that's why in enlightenment, people who talk about being enlightenment and monks and stuff like that, is they say like they have no sex, they work on a schedule. You know what they're doing? They're practicing discipline to override their stress responses.
Yeah,
that's all it is. That's all it is.
I love discipline, dude. If you said go be a monk and you can never have sex again, though, I'd be like, go fuck yourself. I'd be like,
all those indulgences are what makes being a human, this experience.
Because like, as much as I'm like on this like no fap thing, and like so when you get to you're doing a show, and like, I didn't think about sex, I didn't watch porn, I didn't jerk off, I didn't do any of that for weeks, almost months, just so focused on this one fucking singular thing. But if you said like, Nick, you can never fuck again in life, I'd be like, go fuck yourself. I think
done. Never fuck recreationally, I guess, like, is the. If
well,
you were to
I
ask me,
still want to do that.
True enlightenment, ascendance from being better than an animal, is freedom of all of those things.
Unless a certain someone wants to fall in love with me and have children and get married, I still think I want to just like fuck around.
I mean, I will admit that fully.
But what I think all humans actually want, though, is a real meaningful relationship, and they want love.
Well, of course, we all want love, but all men were animals. Almost every animal species in the world, the males were designed to chase, not chase, but like pursue and get women for the sake of breeding and having offspring. So it is very normal for men to want to sleep around. And like, I'm so sick of society like making it obscure for like, it's bad for men to like, I mean, it's bad to be a creep. It's bad to make unwanted advancements.
Cheat on your girlfriend.
But it is very normal for men to want to sleep with other women, to be sleeping around.
It's healthy.
It's very normal for us. The other end is females evolved to keep men with them. And it's so monogamy is a societal construct on a woman's behalf. Men get fucked on that one. But we're bad for, you're a bad guy for wanting to be.
Dude, Fauci fucks, man. Fauci fucks. No.
Society is on women's side on that one. And then we wonder why, men like want to cheat and stuff like that. And it's like, it's very normal for men to have these thoughts. I mean, granted, if you are in the bounds of a relationship, stick to your relationship. But you know, it's very normal for a man because we are animals, and every male species pretty much there's not very many animals that mate with as a pair. There's very few.
Oh, no.
Most of the
We're
time,
mammals. We're
most
trying
of the
to fuck
time, the
everything.
male, they have intercourse, and then the male leaves, and then when he's ready again, he does it to another one, And
I
that's
mean,
just
the
how it
male's
goes.
instincts are telling him to fuck as many things
And
as
that's
he
the
can.
same instincts we have, but back to what we talked about before is people think we're better than animals.
Yeah.
We're not. We just have more complex feelings.
We just
and
can, like you
thoughts.
said, override it.
We can override it.
So we can be
override
monogamous,
it.
yeah.
And unless you're overriding that on a daily
Dude,
basis, then we're
Fauci
not better.
fucks. No, there was like, so you remember like during the pandemic, like Fauci was like almost like a fucking superhero to like more like the liberal side. And it was funny because there was like this, he was like appearing on, I can't remember, like a show, like Zooming with somebody, and like the lady like had his like picture on the wall and everything. Like he was like some rock star and shit. And I was watching some show, and the comedians were like, "Bro, I'm telling you, Fauci fucks."
I think I've seen it.
Like,
I think I've seen that.
Because I mean, the guy kind of was like a rock star there for a minute. Like he was like the voice of like you know, fucking during the pandemic.
Yeah.
The voice of like viral science. You know, like.
Yeah.
So when you were talking about men fucking, I just, for whatever reason, I just kept thinking Fauci fucks.
Men
bro.
be fucking, It's
Men be
programmed.
fucking, dude. It's
programmed in
true.
us.
It's programmed.
And monogamy is definitely a very unnatural for us. It is very unnatural.
Well, and then if you get really weird and you listen to like a lot of the science about like, there's different types of people where like, women will be attracted to like that bad boy type, the kind of guy that's not going to stick around after impregnating him.
Yeah.
Like it's so weird. But then they'll look for in a long-term mate more of like so maybe not the behaviors that sexually arouse them the most, but behaviors that are very like, he'll stick with me and take care of the kids and be a good. And so there's a thing called like mate switching where like women will go out and they'll like secretly fuck some other guy but pass off his offspring as like kids to the serious monogamous mate. And like, so you always wonder, like there's probably like these couples out there where there's like a great dad, but like one of the kids is just like looks a little different.
Very possible.
And it's like, why does Johnny look just, he looks like the
Why
neighbor.
is Johnny black?
That's an obvious one, obviously. But it's like, dude, I feel like that's in a movie or some shit. Like,
But that goes back to, if I think of it as, if you're looking for the kind of characteristics of a man that's not going to stick around are generally stereotypical masculine traits like tough, aggressive.
Right.
And as an animal, that's what you look for because those are the men that are going to protect you. But now we're in societal standards where that stuff doesn't matter anymore. So it starts to get a lot different.
I'll tell you what's weird about like, as much as we, in society will kind of be like, toxic masculinity and like, men are, we have this thing like we hate men are fucking pigs. And the weird thing is like this is really funny, dude, because I'm not saying I'm a hyper masculine dude, but I'm a big guy. So like, there was this thing that happened where in the bar we had these kind of like, so these two groups that should have never come together. You had LARPers. So like very Seattle type people, purple, pink hair.
Live action role play.
LARPers, they're dressed up like Lord of the Ring.
Yeah.
They're very clearly like those Seattle type of more like hipsters.
Neckbeards.
Hipster type of people, and God, I love them. And then you had like 60-year-old, very white Canadian old men rugby players. So two groups that should not, loud ass fucking super entitled white old. You know how old guys are kind of like entitled just because like their generation was like that.
Yeah.
Boomers or whatever you want to say.
Okay,
Nothing
boomer.
against them, but they're very entitled. They think the world kind of revolves around them. And then you get then you get the like Seattle fucking like pink and purple hair LARPers. And they just clashed. They did not fucking mix. And like the LARPers had paid for the room. So like, it was funny because they had some kind of altercation. The girl's birthday balloon got sent to the ceiling by the fucking Canadians. And I don't know what happened, but we talk about toxic masculinity, all this shit. When that girl came in there for somebody to help her, the first person she came up to was me, the biggest guy in the room. I need you. You need to tell these fucking Canadian fucks to get out of our fucking space. We paid for the room. So there is still this thing, like when shit hits the fan, people really want like the hype, like they want the masculine big dude.
They vilified us before.
So they vilified us, but when they fucking need us,
time comes.
you know. And I do think there is a bad toxic masculinity.
There 100%
Don't get me
is,
wrong.
You know, this war on masculinity.
But I don't like vilifying just masculine, because there's a difference between being toxic masculine and just being a masculine person.
There is, and masculine doesn't mean just male. Masculine and feminine are traits that both genders can have.
Both can have it, dude.
Absolutely. And
I know guys that are feminine as fuck. I know straight guys that are feminine as fuck.
Yeah.
I know girls that are super masculine. Yeah. You know, like there's this whole fucking spectrum of shit.
I think that I have a lot of feminine traits about myself as well. And
I think some feminine traits are extremely good. I actually think the best you could be is kind of a balance.
I agree.
Yeah.
And, you know, the varying of how much, you know, is what makes you you.
Right.
But I think women in general are more closer to their higher selves than men are because they're less tethered by the ego. And
dude, I will
survival
spend like a
response.
half hour in the bathroom trying to look good. I mean, I fucking like.
Well, you look fucking great.
You know what I'm saying? I'm very like in that sense very feminine. Like trying to get my hair good and my fucking like, all that kind of shit. So I think there's definitely a combination of traits in everybody.
Everyone's got a little bit of something. But I think that the war on masculinity is definitely based on a lot of true things. I think it's just been pushed too far. There is a lot of
it's the bad things. It's the shitty men that do shitty fucking things.
A lot of shitty men, but the problem is that we're all lumped into a big group, and then it's also fought with extremism, where it's not even just like, oh, bad men are bad. It's like, fuck men. And that is such a terrible thing to say.
That's a thing now where
That
it's
is
just
terrible.
like, fuck men in general.
You should never blanket things like that. And I hear it a lot on the internet. A lot of people I follow will be like, oh, fuck men, I don't like men. And I'm like, well, you're dating a man. You're like, what are you trying to say? Like, don't lump people in, because that's fighting ignorance with ignorance.
I think men and women are both, like I said, beautiful divine beings that
They
are supposed to work
are.
together and like, you know.
They're supposed to work together.
There should be no rules. Like I said, like, so if a girl, you know, there's a girl that's not traditionally feminine. She wants to be tough. She wants to be a fighter. She wants to have tattoos. That's beautiful too. Yeah. Be whatever you want. Yeah. If you want to fucking be a kind of girl that stays home and bakes cookies and fucking wears like dresses.
As long as you are being authentic.
As long as you're being you and nobody's forcing you to be
being authentically yourself is beautiful. I don't care what form it takes, you know, just be you. And you 100%. Are a beautiful person, as long as it's not affecting, you know, other people negatively. But I think that anybody who's authentically 100% themselves will not negatively affect other people, because I think at its core,
they'll be happy.
You'll be happy, and at our core, I think all humans are a soul that is not bound on negative emotions and tendencies. You know, I think all negative things are manifestations of people that aren't being themselves. They're not living.
Well, because it's like it's a corruption in the soul, right? So when the soul's like its truest form, when you're like at your truest form, you're kind of like, you kind of can do good for yourself, but also for others.
Yeah, it radiates, you know? It's like the kind of people that, you know, when they walk in the room, everyone just feels better that they're there. Those are people that are closer to their higher selves. And it's that unspeakable sense, because you can't tell what it is, but you just know when they're there.
Right, and when you're vibing the best that you are, that's usually what you're, like, you are somebody that walks in a room and you make it better when you enter it. You light it up.
I like to think that I am one of those. I've been told that I am one of those people.
I think you are too, especially like you every time at the body shop, it's always, it's you, dude. You got the thing.
I try to be. Lately, I've been in a negative headspace, admittedly, around
but
social
I think
settings.
One thing that's cool about you is you will just genuinely be yourself without fear of like, you really kind of don't give a fuck if people like it or not.
Trust me, I'm scared. I'm fucking terrified.
But you're scared.
But I do it anyways. But I do it anyways. That's the thing.
But so you're admitting that like it is scary to be yourself.
It's terrifying.
But you put yourself out there anyways.
Yeah, you're being vulnerable. It's tough. I genuinely say it as I am scared to go to the gym every day.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that as in like a funny, like, it's hard for me. I wake up regularly in the morning and I cry about how I have to go out of my home. Like,
it's like, can I be this guy today?
Yeah, like, can I do this? Like, am I up for this? And then, like, on top of that is, like, then I have to go into the gym and then train like a professional fucking athlete. It's like, then I have to put myself through a very rigorous physical labor.
And you do, because I saw you today squatting, dude.
Yeah, it was a tough session. I had to do 500 for like 5 sets of 3. And then I ended up pushing a little bit more weight because it was going well. But it's like, it takes a lot of focus, a lot of hard work. And then on top of the fact that, like, I'm just stressed the fuck out being in this place near other people. Yeah. And then add to the fact that I'm kind of good at what I do, so everybody fucking watches me. Yeah. It's so hard for me. It's so hard for me.
Well, you're kind of known as the squat guy, dude.
I am known for it, and I really appreciate that people like it. It's just it's very nerve-wracking to be spectated.
Well, it's like anything. It's that ego thing again. So it becomes this like, identity, but you're more than that.
Yeah, more than that.
But like, it is the thing you have to hold on to.
Yeah.
So like, it's part of who you are. So like, I'm the squat guy. So now I got to put in this work to maintain that.
Yeah.
That is the ego.
Which I'm up for the challenge,
But I see, that's where I feel like ego can be good. Ambition can be good. I feel like as long as you, like in pro wrestling, my coach or my wrestling promoter, we always talked about it in the sense of like, you hold on to the idea of like, so you get into this character and it can kind of, a lot of people end up kind of living the character and it becomes who you are in a sense, and it becomes your identity, and then you have to hold on to that identity. So the thing I always tried to do was like, the ego played a big part of it, and you want it to be like the best match on the show. So like when I had the belt, I had the championship belt for a very long time, for like 2 years straight. And so like I put a lot of pressure on myself, even to the point where I put so much pressure, I like no-showed a couple shows, which made my fucking promoter pissed.
Oh, for sure.
And I never should have done that, but it was like this pressure where I felt like I couldn't live up to it.
Yeah.
And those were super bad. Those are some of the things I'm the most unhappy with myself for. But also during that time I had like the best matches, and like I put a lot of pressure to be the best match on that show because I was the champion.
Yeah.
So I should be the fucking best because I'm ending the show. I'm the biggest, I should be. I'm putting out there this idea that I am the fucking best thing on this show. That's why I have this fucking belt.
Yeah.
That's why you're here to watch me. That's why I'm the end match. So you put all that pressure on yourself. But I do think it's healthy to keep in mind that, like, yes, you're Nicky Free. You're the champion. You're putting all this pressure. You're being this guy. You're living up to this guy. You want to live up to what these people expect of you, what the fans expect of you, and you're going to give them every fucking thing that you have. But I tried to keep in mind that, like, also I'm just Nick.
Yeah.
Like, that's okay too. Like, I'm just Nick Friedoff. I'm this fucking kid from small town Iowa. And that's who I really am. This other stuff, it's all ego. It doesn't matter.
Just something you do.
At the end of the day, I'm happy with just being Nick.
Yeah.
So like if you can kind of like hold on to some sense of like you're just you, you can kind of curb that ego. But I feel like you need the ego too.
Yeah, ego helps us with a lot of things. Yeah,
Because without the ego, how would you be like, I gotta fucking do these squats today?
I never would have started the sport if I didn't have an ego.
Yeah.
And I have an ego. Like, I'm gonna say it. Every man out there has some form of an ego.
It's true.
But I
It's
definitely
damn
acknowledge it, and I'm trying to fight it. And psilocybin helps a lot with that.
Well, they say like it's the ego death, right?
That's 100% how I would describe it.
If you do a really big trip, it's like an ego
It is
death.
the death of the ego, and it's very tough for people to accept that, or to come with that, and that's why people have bad trips or bad experiences.
Dude, so think how scary that word is, the ego death. Because, like, you think about ego, it's kind of like your entire identity.
Yeah.
It's like who you think you are.
It's who you think you are as an individual, but like...
But you don't really...
We're bigger than that, Like, you aren't just Nick. Like, you are...
You're this eternal fucking being.
Yes, you're a soul. You are a conscious... You are a consciousness. You're not even like an individual. Like, you are conscious. You are life.
Do you ever feel like it's kind of like all sort of written?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like... You ever feel like you're, like, meant to be... Like, when I think of, like, my name being Nick, like, I feel like I am a Nick.
Your name was Nick
and I've
before
always been a Nick, and I'll always be
1,000 years ago, you were Nick.
Yeah, it's weird.
It
like,
had already happened.
Yeah.
That's what I believe. People can call that what it is.
Because I always feel like people's names kind of match up with who they are.
Yeah.
It's so weird, dude.
You were always destined to be Nick.
Like, you'll see some fucking douchebag named Paul, and it's like, Paul.
Like, yeah, that would be your name.
Unless it's like Paul from Fast and the Furious. That dude was the shit.
Rip.
Yeah,
Rip in peace.
What's his name? Paul fucking
Paul
Walker,
Walker.
dude.
Yeah, rip in peace.
R.I.P. Paul Walker.
But yeah, it's definitely mushrooms. I call it the ego killer. And I think that the only true way to like tap into your true potential is to fight your ego to some capacity. And I think true enlightenment, true like tapping into the human potential is destroying the ego as much as you can.
And especially because you do have a big ego.
I have a big ego.
You
100%.
have to.
I have gotten into so much trouble with my friends and like in the past that I regret because of my ego.
I've done some shit that I will not say on here.
And like, if anybody out there that's listening to this that I've been bad as a result of my ego, like I'm very sorry. And like I think about it all the time, and I wish that I did not do those things, but they were implemental towards my hero arc development. And on the way.
I'm sorry, Miss Jackson.
I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. You know, there's a few people in like high school. I wasn't a bully, but I definitely heckled some people, and I feel so fucking bad about it.
Those are the ones you'll feel the worst about when you're mean to somebody for no reason.
I'm gonna hit these people up at some point and say like, hey, you know, I remember this moment. And like,
if you were mean to somebody because you were in pain yourself, those are the ones that you feel the shittiest about.
That's what it was.
If you make an honest mistake,
the worst part is I felt like shit at the time doing it too, and I did it anyways. Don't know why.
It's weird. Sometimes it can be because of peer pressure. Like other people are telling you to do it. You know.
It's part of the ego. Is like I was the funny guy. I wanted to be that guy, and like it doesn't matter if it was at someone else's expense.
Dude, it's so weird because humor is one of my favorite things. Like comedians, but it's definitely a lot of it can be born out of like this protective thing. Yeah. Like like you're doing it because it's like
that's what it was for me. I think
it's protection. Like you know, you're being the funny guy. So like you didn't take anything serious. And because I did that for years too, where it was like, you know, anything serious, you'd be like, oh yeah, whatever, you know, like just make a joke out of everything. Then you never have to take anything.
You don't take it
never
seriously,
have to feel
the
anything.
outcome never hurts you. You know, if you're just like with lifting weights, if you're just like, oh, it's just a stupid hobby, I don't care. If you do bad, it doesn't matter anymore. You know?
Exactly.
Like,
oh, it's just a bunch of douchebags on steroids.
Like, oh well, you know. I've had some people where like their lifting was going really bad, and they'll be like, oh well, I just lift for fun anyways. And I'm like, don't say that because it means a lot to you. You're just saying that so that it doesn't hurt as much. You know.
Right, because you're hurting. We need to
feel
the hurt.
So you're trying to like make it seem as more insignificant to you, but like it means a lot to you, and things aren't going well, and that's okay. You know, but just think of it for what it is.
So you've been super vulnerable on here talking about certain things like that.
Yeah.
So like how important do you think that is to just be able to, like you said, take things serious and feel pain instead of hiding from it or running from it or suppressing it? Like I feel like, like you said, if you have to cry or if you have to do something like, dude, I'll fucking cry at like a goddamn like Chevrolet commercial. Yeah. You know, like there's that commercial where it's like the old couple and like,
I cry almost every day.
Yeah, so like, certain movies, like if you put Land Before Time on right now, bro,
that's a tearjerker, man.
I'm fucking done.
I'm triggered.
I'm fucking
don't
like,
talk about Land Before Time.
Littlefoot's mom, bro.
Yeah, I got some bad memories with Littlefoot. I can see it too. Like I can see the scene in my head.
I'll always be with you.
Oh God,
that
was tough.
Mother,
Mom, where are you? Call up your mom.
Oh fuck!
But
I need to call my mom now. Shit.
Feeling like to answer your question is feeling those things, and it is very, very vital because, like you said about what you're talking about with humans wanting to obsess with feeling good all the time, is there is no real like in relative terms there is no good or bad emotions really. It's like every negative emotion that you have is integral to who you are too. You aren't just all of your good traits, you are the bad traits. And you also can't have good things without bad things because you can't have light without the darkness. There is no, to be able to say that something exists means that something that's not it exists.
Yeah, and sometimes
like for me to say that this house exists, that there's a space where the house doesn't exist, or else I couldn't even have that conversation. So to have good emotions, you have to have bad emotions, and then also good and bad isn't even really a thing, but you need to feel these things to be truly authentic with who you are, and it's very important to be who you are.
And sometimes you got to embrace the bad.
You have to embrace the bad because you can't
you
just
embrace
like
the bad side of you a little bit.
You can't be a better person without knowing yourself, and you need to know your bad emotions too. You need to face them.
Thought that with like, so talk about wrestling again, but like I always felt that with wrestling, it's like, you know, to play the heel character. That's where you kind of get to tap into like the shitty parts of yourself. Yeah. You know, like the ego. That's where you get to kind of turn up the ego.
Yeah,
you get to kind of be like the guy, like the fucking dickhead, like the guy that's so full of himself that people hate you. And there's kind of a sick, twisted like joy in that.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, getting to like tap into those like. You think about the shit that would piss you off, like somebody getting away with something over and over when you know they didn't deserve it, but they keep getting away with it. That's what being a heel is in wrestling. That's what being a bad guy is. Like, and so you try to find those kind of things that are going to piss people off. Like you cheat behind the referee's back, you know, like any kind of little
taking
thing.
Low blow kind of thing.
Yeah, dude, it's so great.
It's a good break.
The art of it, yeah.
Yeah. But you got to feel all those negative emotions. You can't like fight an adversary or accomplish something if you don't have the information about it. And you need to have information about your negative feelings and to why they are that way.
Right, and sometimes like the bad things, like you can find out, like, say you're like, when you do need to turn them on. So like you're fighting your ego. You're trying to keep it in check because it's big. But there's certain times when you're going to need the ego. So you got to turn it on. Yeah. I'm thinking of like, so I said I was watching that show Ted Lasso, and there's like the one soccer player, Jamie, is kind of like a cocky, arrogant. He's just born fucking great, born great athlete, great looking, best hair, all this shit. Like, and he kind of had a time where he had to realize he needed to tone that down in order to fit in with the team.
Yeah.
But then in the second season, it's like they need him to turn that back on. They need him to be the arrogant, cocky, fucking soccer player to win these games. Yeah. So they kind of get it to a point where it's like you've grown a lot, you've kept your ego in check, you fit in with the team, you've made amends for the shitty things you've done. But right now we need you to fucking find that guy again.
Yeah.
And we need you to put him to use.
You definitely need the ego. We as humans have it for a reason. It just needs to be on your dime.
Right, you should be in control.
You have to be in control of it. But yes, your ego is a very powerful thing. That's why like your soul wants to be, like, chose to be in this form, is because like there is benefits to being human and having these urges and these responses. And I think that like after this life, your soul's gonna look back and be like, dude, that human experience was fucking wild, man. I had sex, I ate food.
Don't you feel like sometimes like that's all that life is like it must be just a fun thing for souls to do? Yeah,
absolutely.
So they just do it. Like that might be what all this is.
100% could be. It's a wild trip for them.
It's just a thing where these like conscious beings are like, let's go do that thing. They zip in and they're like, cool.
Yeah. Once you die, you could open your eyes and you'll be with your buddies and be like, dude, that was so good.
Did you see that life? That one was fun, bro. And like it seemed like a life to us, but for them it was just a quick ride.
Just a flick of an instant, time not being time is relative.
Or maybe we live the same one over and over and over again.
You could be. I think you do if you don't learn your life lessons. Like if you don't become your higher self, you're stuck here.
Yeah, so that means a lot of people are just doing
that's what hell
over
is being stuck.
And over and over again.
Yep, and that's what I think happens. So it's very important for people to like learn who they are, be authentically them, and learn what you're supposed to learn in this life so that you can move forward.
Right.
Like I want to like make this life my last one here, where my soul is like, dude, you fucking killed it. Like we learned everything you wanted to learn. Like, and I think a big part of what we're trying to learn is how to kill your ego and how to be like greater than and like be something different. So that's what I'm trying to do with all my power, so that when I go to the next life, my soul says, like, we can figure something, we can do something else, play the next game,
So, dude, you're kind of like actually inspiring me for this next 8 weeks for my show because I told you like after the last show, you get into this like almost hedonistic state of mind, and like that's what I need to do is kill that ego and put into practice the practical, disciplined, like, and I'm doing it now, but like do it better. So like, you wake up, you do your cardio, then you go and you do your fucking like stomach holds. You got to get them abs good at fucking contracting. So you look good at stomach vacuums, like the stretching abs every morning. Like there's so many things. If you just put them into practice and kind of clear out, like you said, clear out the ego, clear out the hedonistic things that you're eating on a plan. You're not watching porn. You're not thinking about sex. You're not thinking about this or that. Just the tasks that you need to fucking do so that at that next show you're going to be better. Yeah. And it's kind of like I find the most value in things that are long-term versus because like what hedonistic is like doing whatever you want right at the moment. Whatever you feel like doing. So I love things where you put, like you said, you override that response and you are not doing things for the present, you're doing things for the future. So it's like putting into action these things. And to me, there's like nothing fucking better than
There's nothing like it. It sounds to me like you're describing like that you're tapping into that. You're breaking past the ego. You're doing what your higher power wants you to do. And like
when you do it, dude, it's the best.
That's the true way to happiness because you're becoming something greater than an animal now. It's that big. I call it like a feel versus want kind of scenario where feel is like the ego. That's like your senses. Like this is what you feel like doing. But your soul, your higher being wants to do the things that are great for you. So like going to the gym, for example, the dangerous thing people say is like, oh, I don't want to go to today. You want to, you just don't feel like it. Your soul wants to do what's good for you.
What you just said kind of blew my mind.
I thank you.
No, you're right, because your soul wants that higher self.
Your soul wants to do
and I feel like that's
everything,
why so many people are unhappy, because they all want that, but they don't know how to get it.
Yeah.
And they don't want to put in the work to get it.
Yeah, I mean, it's because the ego keeps pulling you back.
So the soul's always unhappy and unresolved.
That's what I think is the root of all unhappiness and all mental health. All this is people not living to what your higher. You're not living to what your higher power or your soul wants. You know.
Yeah.
And it's that little voice in the back of your head that's thinking like, this isn't the life we're supposed to live, and people don't know what it is, so they misdiagnose it, and they misdirect their anger. They lash out. You know. But
it's that feeling of like, I know there's something more than this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that I deserve better.
Yeah, you're supposed to be doing something different, and
I'm not supposed to be here.
Yeah, just like people like myself, as I just was more, I just noticed it sooner, and that's why I had such a hard time working these jobs, because even then I actually didn't know what it was. It's like I knew like something was just wrong. I was just unhappy.
Just felt wrong,
and like people think that. Humans are so caught up in thinking that we're supposed to understand why things make us angry, but like there's so many things that are subconscious that you don't understand. I think that was one of them for me, where I just was unhappy and I didn't know what was wrong. Like I have no clue. So through all this enlightenment stuff, I figured it out. But I think all unhappiness, anybody who's unhappy or mean or anything, is just a manifestation of their soul telling them like, you're not on the right path, my guy.
Yeah.
And I think all humans at their core are good. So I think all bad people are they just kept going down that slope of just ignoring what they're supposed to be doing and ignoring it. And then it gets harder and harder and harder to get yourself out of that ditch.
The further you go down, dude, it's so hard.
So hard.
To dig out.
It's just momentum,
And that's like you said, we're like, you're saying like politicians don't go talk to homeless people. It's like we have this weird thing with homeless people, but it's like you don't know what that's like. And
you don't either. And you and I are 2 steps away from being homeless.
Exactly.
You are 2 steps away, and it could very well be someone's sister, someone's son. The only reason why I'm not homeless is I had a good support network. But like I was drinking hard alcohol, I was stealing from people, I was doing all kinds of stuff. And the only reason why I didn't is because my parents were just loving enough to always give me a home. But if I just had let's just say my parents weren't together and they didn't have good finances, I would be homeless right now. So, people think that we're so much better than the homeless, but
it could be you.
It could be you, and like even if like let's say it couldn't be you, and like,
people are like, no, bro, I'd fucking get a job. I would do that. Well, you don't know.
Yeah, well, your mom wasn't a crack addict, and you weren't born on a basement fucking floor.
Dude.
Like it's easy to say that from where you're born. I don't know. There's a lot of people intolerant of homeless and panhandlers, and it makes me angry because they're humans too. And it doesn't matter if they made bad decisions. It doesn't matter if it's all their fault, if they're lazy. That's not up to you to decide. They are a human. Like they're your teammates. They're your teammates.
And you got to think of where you came from, what advantage. Like one of my favorite Pearl Jam songs is this one. It's called White Male American, and I'm not trying to like feed in, because I hate when people hate on white people the same way. Like I hate when people hate on men just across the board, and I hate when people just hate on white people across the board. Like it's easy to do though, because there's certain funny things that white people do that are just hilarious. But like, but it was like the song. It was like he won the lottery by being born. Big hand slapped a white male American. Do no wrong, so clean cut. Dirties his hands, it comes right off. Basically just saying like, there was a time where like racism was so bad that just being born white was like winning the lottery. So you're coming at you're already at an advantage.
It's very, very powerful.
And that could be so many things. Like you said, like your mom wasn't a crack.
I say it to make a joke.
Your mom wasn't a crack addict. Well, like you're already ahead of the guy whose mom was a crack addict.
You are so far ahead of other people.
So acting like you're so like, well, I would do that. It's like, well, you had advantages, like I was born to very middle class, not rich people, but you know what, dude? Like I always had a roof over my head. I had a loving family. My parents were married. They're still married, which is, I mean, you think about that in general, that's huge.
It's tough.
Not many people have that kind of stability to look up to, and so we didn't have a lot of money. We didn't have a lot, but like we did have a lot. I mean, I had amazing Christmases. I had gifts, presents, like. We always had like the Nintendo or whatever. So like, so fucking spoiled and entitled if you think about it. And I'm not coming from a poor guy. Like we would have been considered poor, but like still that's rich. It's just how you look at it.
So many people, it's just perspective.
To so many people, like that's completely fucking rich, dude.
And then there's so many more advantages other than just like the surface level of an economy and resources kind of thing is, if you have, like, say, for example, the mom being a crack addict, is you don't have the same resources, as in, like, you don't have access to money and all these things, but you are taught the same mental beliefs and the attitudes that your parents have. So that is also a blessing that people have that they don't look at, is like, if you had a parent with a good perspective or was good with money, like, you learn these behaviors too. So
Right.
it's more than, I say that because people say, like, oh, I don't care if my mom was a crack addict or I didn't have parents, like, I would have made money. And I'm like, well, no, because you would have been raised to have a bad attitude with
known
money.
how to have
You would have
make
had
money.
bad disciplines because that would have been taught to you. And people don't want to look at that. They're like, oh, I'd be like, no. You would have been
don't really
nurtured
know.
a whole different way. You would have had traumas. You would have been through this and that.
Right.
And you know, it's not even supposed to be a competition in regards, like, people look at it and be like, oh, I would have done differently. I would have made these decisions. It doesn't matter. The person is struggling. A homeless person is struggling. They need help. That's all that matters. There's nothing else to even think about.
We got to do something about it, yeah, for sure.
You know, there's definitely something to do.
I think like Portland or like Oregon's starting to do things to help with their problem, like maybe building like giant camps or something.
Yeah. There's a place in Everett, I think, that they did, which is a small, like, one little unit housing, and I think that's fantastic. You know, we definitely need to do something to help these people out.
Right, because we're all humans living the human experience.
We're all humans, and they're trying to live their lives too and have a good life too. And just because they might have made some bad decisions doesn't mean that you're.
Well, a lot of them probably need help.
They all need help.
Like a lot of them are, you know, probably addicted or like.
They are, or have mental health issues, and
Right.
you know, that stuff is a lot harder to get out of, and it's easy to be on the outside and think that it's easy to get through mental health when you don't have any
Dude,
problems.
it's so easy to look down on people.
Yeah, it's so easy
Be
to.
like,
and
I'm
that's-
so cool.
And that's all the ego.
Look at me, I work so fucking hard. I would never be like these fucking people.
Yeah, most people do that. And
I do that with all the beer drinkers. I'm like, look at these fucking dudes sitting here
Yeah.
just fucking miserable.
Yeah.
Fucking sitting
Hedonism.
here every day, just eating, stuffing their faces, just drinking with no regards for anything.
Just
like,
stuck in that.
living in this zombified state of
It's just the
blah,
computer program.
blah,
running.
blah, blah, blah,
You are.
blah, blah, blah. Like that's what they sound like to me. It's just like this drone of like dumbness.
Yeah, just nothing going on.
Sorry, I had to get that out.
It's all right.
Talking shit. No, but then you meet a lot of really cool people too. That's
Yeah,
just
I was
like,
one of those people once. Luckily, I got out of it.
well, drinkers can be two different types of people. They're like those people doing it to like, what's the intention? There's certain people that go out to drink and they're happy. They have great lives. They're just doing this. It's a fun thing. Then there's other people that it's like they are using it to dull and numb their
Escape or
fucking pain and suffering and you know.
Yeah, I don't think drinking is innately bad, but definitely.
Dude, a lot of people met the love of their life because they were drunk. You think about like you're like super into a girl, but you're too scared to like make a move. You get drunk together, bam, you're sucking face.
Yeah.
It's like so. You can't say drinking's bad. You know, like there's
It's got its applications.
it's
It's a tool for us to use.
releases, and I mean, obviously, if you have a problem with it, it is bad. It's like, but it's weird. I have a hard time saying anything is like 100% bad or good.
You can't say anything. It's all relative.
Yeah.
Or it's all it's all relative. You can't say anything because then it's like from what perspective, you know, to a human maybe, to this and that, and depending on your needs, your goals, it's all different. So there isn't really a true right or wrong or good and bad with anything,
Right.
in my opinion at least. But
I try to stay out of that. Yeah, I try not to get caught in that trap too much.
But yeah. So what's your next plan? You got your meet coming up or your show coming up. What are you doing after that?
You know, after that, so what I want to do is have a really good off season and try to put on a lot of muscle, go on a good bulk, but like I want to get in the best shape I possibly can in these next 8 weeks and hopefully do better than the last show. And then I kind of want to stay relatively lean.
That's what they all say.
Yeah, it's so funny. 'Cause- so my plan is to like, it's so silly because this is all ego. Like my plan is to go home, So the show's at the end of June, and then at the end of July, I'm gonna go home to visit. And when I go home to visit, I want to be fucking ripped, just to like show off to hey, look at me, I'm fucking cool, Like,
to them, you're gonna be a Greek god no matter what.
no matter how I show up there. Yeah, that's so funny.
A few percentage of body fat's not gonna fucking matter to them.
No,
They don't know
but
what any of it
isn't that just
means.
silly? That's just like what my brain's saying. So
Yeah.
like, but then after that, I kind of want to like get back. There's gonna be like the new gym is gonna be open, the compound.
Very excited for that.
Super cool. So I want to like start. Then I just want to bulk, dude. I want to work with my coach, put on some size,
Yeah.
and then maybe do a couple shows again next year. But simultaneously, I want to keep working on making myself better as a coach and getting more clients, and then also keep this podcast going strong.
Yeah.
And I want to really focus on it because it was scary for me to, put my focus into. Because this podcast has been going like very well, actually.
Yeah.
Its momentum has been in an upward, growth period. But so then you get to this point where like, there is no way I could have done. I mean, maybe if I was like, I think if I had help where like I had a producer or something that like ran the show for me and I just showed up and like did the guest, I could probably still do podcasts while, so that's like someday if I get this thing to a certain level where I like hire a guy. If I was on a prep, I could probably do episodes starving. But like that last one I did with Sam was like, luckily Sam knows exactly how it goes. So like he was able to kind of carry the episode,
Yeah.
Cause like I just,
Like I'm just a shell. Just talk to me, man.
yes, but so like trying to do it while in prep, you just really couldn't. So, but it was a little scary because like I put so much pressure to do like 2 a week for so long because I wanted to grow this fucking thing, And this week there's only one, and then I had to take the week off last week, but it's still in a forward motion.
Yeah.
So like after the next show, I want to keep hitting the podcast hard, dude. Get some more cool guests.
It's definitely part of your higher powers gift that you need.
It's
to keep
you know how you say like you felt wrong at certain jobs. Like when I do this, I feel like this is me.
Yes.
I feel aligned with the universe when I'm podcasting, dude.
Yes.
Because it's so fun. And even this one, especially since we had some chocolate bars.
Yeah, I think.
I feel like this is
there's some things moving around that aren't supposed to be moving. I don't think.
Dude, so like, but I think this is like, I love episodes like this. I think we should, like, I think there should be more of these kind of like deep convo episodes where it gets like crazy. And like, it's funny because sometimes you will, it will surprise you because we've had some very heavy episodes, right? Like we had my buddy Frankie come on and he was very open about like suicidal thoughts, and the guy is such a fucking winner. He's such a good guy. And to hear that somebody that like looking at from the outside at him, looking at him from the outside, you think this guy's like killing it. He's like, no idea that he was going through any of that.
So many struggles. Yeah.
Struggling. And for him to be vulnerable and share that was very powerful. So we have a lot of episodes like that, but then also it's kind of funny because like it will kind of surprise you where sometimes a really deep conversation will happen. Like, so like when I had that former UFC fighter, Barb Honchek on here, who was friends with Sam Deason, she was one of the, my favorite episodes because she was so cool. And, like being a fan of UFC from like that era, like I said, like the, back when it was starting up, how I was like such a fan, like, 2010, rocking the Randy Couture shirts and all that. And like, so her episode was just so fucking cool. But then towards the end of it, I think me and you had our episode maybe, or we passed around that, like you said, that thing about reality isn't real.
Yeah.
And so I had just watched this YouTube video with this scientist talking about like a case against reality that basically like, in a sense, reality is not even real.
Yeah.
And so like I bring that up to Barb and like she's like so like philosophical and deep.
And you didn't expect that.
And we started having this weird conversation about the universe and stuff towards the end. And I was like, I didn't see that coming from her. So if people, and I think there's a weird perception that athletes are all these fucking big dummies.
Yeah.
Because she's a super athlete. And it's like, it surprises you so much at the intellect level of certain athletes and how athletes get such a bad rap for being like just like big fucking, you know, dumb
and
meatheads.
people expect that. I get it a lot where people ask me about like, oh, what are you going to school for? Exercise science or this and that? And I'll tell them that what I'm going for, and they won't believe me. Like they just expect you to live up to that.
Because you lift heavy weights, you're not supposed to be interested in space.
I must just be only
space-time,
lifting weights, you know.
physics.
Like that's really it. That's not the case, but you know,
there's a weird. You know, as much as we talk about like body shaming and stuff, there's like kind of a weird like fit shaming thing that happens too. I've noticed. Like, I don't know. Not complaining, but yeah, there's certain like, you know, perceptions people have of you. Like, I don't know.
But you got to keep doing the podcast. Even you know, got to keep it rolling. I think.
Oh, definitely.
What you do is a very wonderful outlet for. It's a tool for me and for your viewers to get like their thoughts and their messages through where they wouldn't elsewhere.
It's really cool to be able to like platform people that are you find so interesting.
Yes.
And that's why like I love having like this is what your 5th time?
Yeah.
Are you fucking serious? Yeah, and the one time was with Ethan, but so like you're probably the most episodes. So like I've been finding that I really enjoy having repeat. Like I said, I feel like we've created this like podcast family in a sense.
Build a rapport.
So like people will see like, oh, Zach's on again. Like that's dope. I
I
love when Zach shows up on Nick's podcast. So it's like, to me, I always like that with like, and I feel like we've built this kind of cool family with the podcast. So.
You did. I think that you're doing a really great thing. And I'm very thankful to have you to like help magnify my message and like my own thoughts. And a lot of things that I'm talking about that we talk about like are thoughts that surprise me that only came up because we were having a back and forth about it where I'm like, damn, like.
Because we're in this like free environment to just express ourselves.
And that's all because you do what you're doing, which is just fucking fantastic.
That's what I want most of all is like this like weird place where people can just express themselves. You know what I mean? Like, because a lot of times people will be like, oh, you should do this or structure this or that. And I'm like, I kind of never want that. I kind of like, for me, I feel like the beauty is like just in a conversation where it's just open and it's just like you're like invited in to listen to these two people just shoot the shit for like 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, it lets it become more free, more authentic.
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I don't even think that they're there. I'm just having a talk with my buddy Nicky free.
Now, there's certain podcasts that I love that are very structured. Like you said, kind of some of those like serial killer ones and stuff where they've clearly done their fucking research. Or like Huberman Lab podcast where he is very fucking like, you know, he's talking about scientific things. So he's very researched and very structured. And then there's other ones that are just, you know, comedy podcasts that are like this, where it's just fucking free form. Whatever happens. But yeah, or maybe you took a couple chocolates.
We definitely did.
And you're kind of like,
I got to do some math homework after this shit, man. It's going to be a long night.
Dude.
It's going to be a long night doing Calc 2 stuff.
I think I'm set to like, I don't know what I have to do after this.
Probably video editing.
We'll definitely got to cut clips out of this one. That's going to be interesting because I don't even know what we just talked about, dude.
Yeah, I don't even know. I'm in a different planet.
That was like a different...
my higher self came down for a couple moments.
Yeah, we were just like freeforming there. Like, that was like our souls just talking,
It was.
bro.
I notice when I take microdosing, a lot of times I'll find myself in conversations where I'm not even feel like I'm coming up with those thoughts. It's just flowing out of me. And sometimes I'll surprise myself where I'm like, dude, that was really good. And like, I didn't even have a thought about saying
That's that
those
flow
words.
state.
Yeah, and I think that's your higher power of like just living through the you know, like this event already happened and we're just kind of living through it now.
Right.
You know, like that stuff was already
It has
there.
already been written.
And then now I'm just watching it happen as it goes by.
It has already been written.
It has been written.
Weird thought, but what's your thoughts about Harry Potter?
Love it.
I was going to say, so like... The last few days, I've just been watching Harry Potter movies, bro.
Dude, I binge watched the whole series last year over the summer.
Fucking
good. When I went to Florida, I saw the Space Center, but we also went to the Harry Potter world. Spent the whole day there.
I feel like our generation like has this weird love of Harry Potter.
Oh, of course.
Because like it's just amazing, dude.
It's a great
so you have all these grown men now. They're like Harry Potter. It's like, yeah, of course Harry Potter.
Yeah, of course. It's sick.
It's the shit.
It was a good run, and we got to live through it when it was coming out live.
That is cool, dude. We were like, we lived through like Lord of the Rings and then Harry Potter.
Yeah, Star Wars. No, that was a little bit before us for the most part.
The original ones, we lived through like second round, the prequel, and then the fucking new ones.
Yeah.
And people had mixed feelings about those.
But I love Harry Potter.
It's the shit, dude.
It is.
It really is. It's so well done. It's one of those weird ones too, where like, I think I only read up to like the 4th book, and then I kind of like, I don't know, I was at the age where like,
I was like 10.
Yeah, because I got to the age where it was like, I'm not gonna fucking read, bro. Let's go drink.
Yeah,
reading
like sucks.
Yeah, reading's for fags, bro.
Yeah,
it's like,
I'd rather go throw rocks at cars.
But it's sad because like really, I probably still, like you said, the soul probably still wanted to finish the books, but like I'm trying to look cool.
Yeah, your ego overrode that.
Well, you get into that adult age of like where like other things take over, but then eventually like you go back to it. Like you could probably finish reading, but my point was like it's one of them weird ones where the books and the movie series live up. Like it's not where you're like, I don't think the movies made anybody sad. Like they did such a good job on the series, right? Yeah.
I'm sure there's probably some book diehard.
I'm sure there's diehard book fans who are like, it's not as good as the book, bro.
It's not. I hate when people say that. It's like it's not supposed to be. It's not even supposed to be a comparison. It's a different interpretation. It's a different media.
Right.
It's not supposed to be the same thing. Otherwise, just read the fucking book again.
Right. Like my favorite fucking author was Michael Crichton growing up. So like science fiction. Fucking loved it. Obsessed. Like to me, he's the GOAT. The fucking GOAT. Like he was like 6'9". He actually was a fucking.
He was a sci-fi.
He was an MD, like a doctor actually. And Jurassic Park lives up to the book. Like it's one of those movies where it's like, but yeah, it's totally different in certain areas. But it's like, who gives a fuck?
It's a different artistic impression. It's supposed to be different,
but still so well done. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know, dude. I feel like I'm just fucking coming back.
You're coming back to earth?
Yeah, coming back to earth a little bit.
I am with you.
So my legs are fucking cramping up too, because like I said, first like fucking actual lift. Like I said, after that show, your body's so depleted. Yeah. It's like hard. So today was like, I feel like I can lift again, And tomorrow I can already tell I'm going to have a fucking great lift. My body's coming back. Body's coming back online, baby.
When are you lifting tomorrow? Because I'll be in at the shop in the morning.
Actually, tomorrow I'm doing back, which is weird because like I just didn't have a good Monday. So Monday would have been my back day. And like I said, I'm still kind of like out of it from the show. But now I'm like coming back. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do Monday's lift on Thursday. Because Thursday would have been an off day, but I have plenty of energy. And I'll take my off day on Sunday. It'll be fine. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. That's my plan anyway.
I will be in. I think I'm going to do upper body as well tomorrow.
Hell yeah.
I got a client at 12. One of my star clients, Tracy, she's just turned 53.
Really?
She's powerlifting. And I had her a year and a half ago. She couldn't even bodyweight squat.
It is amazing what your clients, what they don't realize what they're capable of.
Yeah, they know. Yeah.
And when you can kind of bring them, like even like the two people I'm training, that's a mother-daughter combo, and it's funny because they're one right after the other. Like the daughter comes in, then the mom comes in after. And also she's my coworker, the one I've known her for years. We're really good friends, but it's funny because like they don't realize they're already both getting stronger, and it's just like it's so crazy watching how fast like they just don't realize their potential.
Yeah,
and you help them, you give them that little push, and they start being like, "Wow, I just did that." It's like, yeah, you just did that. Like,
it's so empowering for them.
Yeah, and like you get like you said, the older clients. And you can kind of help them like, oh, my knee's been bothering me. And you get their knees stronger.
Yeah, it's such a big quality of life improvement.
So huge.
She was telling me that now she can, at the grocery store, she came in excited one day. She's like, I was at the grocery store at the bottom shelf. I squatted down and I picked something up without
no pain.
And I haven't like lean against things. Like she's like, I can get up off the sofa now.
Yeah.
And when she's told me in hindsight, she said, well, when I first started working, when she first started working with me, that she didn't believe me when I said that she could squat. She thought I was bullshit, but she wanted to try anyways.
But you're like, no, I know that I can.
I admit that I was nervous too, but I just thought that I was the best guy for the job. So if anyone's going to do it, like it might as well be me. And then she squatted at full depth in a powerlifting meet, squatted 100 pounds, and I'll probably squat closer to 150 now.
Dude, that's crazy.
And this was she could not get down to the ground beforehand, not even close. She couldn't even perform a bodyweight squat, let alone put a barbell on your back and to go to powerlifting depth. So she's definitely a testament that anybody can do it. You just have to just put in the work for it.
Right, because when we like squat, we've been, whether you're doing it right or wrong, like we've been lifting for how many years? It's a natural thing for us to put a bar on our back and squat. it is weird when you get certain clients and like the idea of trying to do those two simultaneous things is so out of their, body's capability at the time. Like we take it for granted how like natural that is because we've been doing it so long.
Most people don't go anywhere.
But most people, it's like they're trying to do this and keep and it's like this awkward. Like it's like, oh shit, I have to really teach them this. This is not something that just comes natural.
You're just not natural at this. You're not good at this already.
And we're around so many lifters that it's like we kind of forget that that's a very unnatural movement
to most people outside of this little bubble.
Right, it can be a super unnatural thing, dude. Like,
absolutely.
That's so. How long have you been coaching, Zach?
I've been coaching since 2017, I would say.
Okay.
I took a break when I moved here for about 2 years, and then I had a bunch of people at the gym kind of just say that I should be doing it. So I started coaching again. Shortly after that, I left my job at Boeing last year to coach full time. So I've been a full-time coach for a year, just about on the dot now. But
is that why your year's been so challenging, you think? Or was it just...
I'd say part of it. I think the most of it is that I'm just attacking the fucking ego, man. Like I am not letting that. I got that motherfucker against the ropes. Like I got him in the corner.
Yeah.
He's like trying to. This year he got up and he slipped me an uppercut, and I'm just like, whew. But now I'm getting up. I'm not letting this dude gain some ground. So I've been going through a painful self-transmutation. Because I've been trying to discipline myself. And it's tough to keep it in line. And when you start to discipline yourself on bad habits, then you have a lot of free time because you're not engaging in these bad habits. And it's tough to face yourself like that. So a lot of that. And then I have a tendency to want to retreat back into my shell when I get overwhelmed. And then that momentum digs you down further and further and further. So
it's about how many times you can get hit.
It's not about
and keep getting up.
Yep.
Exactly. I used to hold you right here in my hand.
Yeah. So, yeah.
You're not a quitter. You're not a quitter. That's what quitters do.
So, I'm coaching full-time now and taking on more personal training clients. So, if anybody needs lifting stuff, then I got you. Because I need to make more money. More money for more freedom.
We always need more money.
Yeah.
But it's not because we want money. It's because we want freedom. No.
Yeah, it's the freedom to
that is true,
to live the life I want to live. Well, that's why I wanted to leave my job so I could be free to train myself and do the things that I want to do. So I just need more resources so I can have freedom to get my message across and to,
It's true, though. Money is freedom.
Money definitely is freedom. And
that's the goal is freedom. Freedom of, like you said, having that boss telling you what to do. Freedom to, like, be able to express yourself as the truest form of yourself.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
It takes money to do that.
Yeah, I want the freedom to fully, authentically express myself.
Right.
And that person is rich.
If you got money, dude, like, you can be whoever the fuck you want.
My higher self is rich.
If you're rich, you can be fucking Caitlyn Jenner. Express yourself however the fuck you want.
Yeah.
If you try to do that when you're not rich, you're going to have a rough life.
You get some more backlash.
You're going to get more backlash. And that's, that's what's tough for people out there. Like,
you got to stand up to it. Be yourself.
That's like the bravest people are people that are trying to be themselves when they're poor. Because it's easy to be yourself when you're rich. Harder. It's like, bitch, what are you going to say? I'm rich.
Yeah, right?
I don't like that you're being yourself. It's like, bitch, what are you going to fucking do about it? I'm rich.
Yeah, I don't care what you think.
That's like the beauty of being rich. But you do that when you're poor, dude. That's some brave motherfuckers.
Yeah, that means something.
Yeah.
That means something.
Yeah. So I get shout out to those people being themselves when they're fucking poor. And there's people fighting against them.
Well, how long are we talking about? We about to land this plane here?
Dude, I think it's time to wrap this thing up.
I got some homework.
Zach's got to do some fucking math work.
I'm behind from yesterday's homework.
Fueled by chocolate bars. So, well, Zach, I really appreciate you being here, man.
Thank you.
Always one of my favorite guests. Very authentic fucking human being. I love you.
It was a great compliment. Thank you.
So anything that you want to get a shout out to or say before we go off, I'll let you have the floor here.
I think that we covered it all.
I think we covered it all too, dude.
Yeah. I always try to beforehand I think about some cool stuff to say, but when the time comes you're just like, well, have a good day, guys.
You know what's a great way to end a podcast? Like, oh shit, we've been talking for almost 3 hours. Let's fucking wrap this up.
Yeah, right. Just see you later.
Yep, see you later. All right, everybody.
Peace.
Thank you for listening, and we will see you next